Hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Clear Skies, our Star Trek Adventures live play with the Stream Punks. I'm here with some friends. Y'all. We have almost a whole new crew today, and some returning faces from our Shield days. So it's week 2 of our reunion tour. We have one Rick Budd, who you all know from Power Play and a bunch of other great shows. You did what was the name of that wonderful show? Oh yeah, Tempting Fate. Over on Saving Throw, which was a great show. Also, Power Plays, catch it on Sundays. What time are you live on Sundays, Rick?
We're 5 p.m. And this weekend is our season finale.
Oh, yeah, it's got time to catch up for the next season. So definitely check that out. But Rick, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, Rick basically helped me launch Shield of Tomorrow. In the very early days, it was me and Rick and Nick, and we were just writing the episodes. The pull was Rick's idea. Literally, the overarching story of the entire freaking campaign was what Rick showed up with and went along with it. It was pretty good. And Rick tolerated me in the writer's room. Also amazing. Just amazing. So it's good to have you back. And then, of course, B. Dave Walters, who you may have seen from a thing he probably did at some point in his life. I don't know. He doesn't do much, to be honest with you. You're kind of I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm sorry to call you out on live stream, but you're kind of lazy, B Dave. You don't do much.
Sort of phoning it in. Yeah. That is
yeah. And then, of course, we have Joey Millen, actor extraordinaire, who is jumping in with us. Joey's been we've been gaming Joey behind the scenes for a bit now, and I've been eager to get Joey in on one of our games, and so I finally got you in tonight.
It's good to finally be here.
The Aux crew knows you as Mr. Gina, I believe is what they call you. That's literally what they were. I'm just telling you what I saw.
That is highly honoring to be put into the same sentence at all with such an RPG legend.
So before we jump into tonight's game, let's just get some of the announcements out of the way real quick. So to start off, of course, I have to salute and honor and shout out the Gax Pack, which we have on Sundays from 1 to 4 p.m. on Gary Con Live. Feel free to watch us over there if you want to see me and B Dave's characters constantly debate the differences between life and death, and then share a bonding moment when we both express how much we hate the dungeon we're in. Good times. So that's 1 to 4 p.m.
Terrible place.
It's a terrible place. So that's 1 to 4 p.m. on Gary Con Live. And then that's really all I got tonight, y'all. I got that one announcement. Does anybody else have any other announcements? Anything that they'd like to talk about? Failed save or anything else that's going on? Any y'all? Oh, yes, Aki, what you got?
So tomorrow over at Indiecade Twitch at 3 p.m., we're starting part 1 of our last show, our last game for the season. We're playing Good Society, and that's going to be run by one of the designers of the game, and we're going to have special guests Ruben Bressler and Erica Fermina playing with us. So that should be a lot of fun. So 3 p.m. over on Indiecade Twitch, and then we don't have our season finale on Sunday for New Pantheon, but we do have our musical episode happening at 4 p.m. So if you want to come and hang out and watch us pull off a virtual musical, we're gonna try it on Sunday. So that's a Saving Throw show. And then of course we finally the Let's Get Wild Mount is back. The Wild Ones are wilding it up on Saturdays at 1:30 p.m. So yeah.
Sweet.
Having attempted to sing Happy Birthday via Zoom, I can only say good luck.
Yeah, we're probably not going to be trying any group numbers. It'll probably be a lot of solo stuff, but you know.
The only other thing I have to say is that Rick Budd is the underground king of this thing, and he doesn't get nearly enough credit for his genius, and you should go and watch his whole entire catalog of everything he's ever done ever.
I completely agree. It's true. It's true.
Oh my God, you guys definitely too nice. No, they can't take it when people are nice.
Even you live with one of the nicest people on the planet, Rick.
Yes. Inundate Rick's Twitter with nice things, please.
Yes, send all the love, all the Care Bear stare, like heart lamps towards Rick Budd. Yep.
There is a wild Amy in chat, and she's telling you to send love.
Honestly, I am lucky and honored to be hanging out with this class of player here. So thank you.
It's long overdue. Long overdue. Gina, what's up? You got something?
I do. I have an announcement.
what's up?
So on Thursday, I'm going to be playing one of the charity streams for D&D Beyond at 2 p.m. It is going to be really fun. We just got to announce the people who I'm playing with, and Joestar's going to be my DM, and I get to play with Danielle Radford, Amy Vorpal, Terry Gamble, Todd Stashwick, and Cucumber, who's a puppet from Perspective Studios, and I'm so excited.
Oh my
I
God.
get to play with a puppet.
I love that. Like most people would be like, Amy Vorpal, Todd Stashwick. You're just like, no, Cucumber is gonna be there. Yeah.
So please come support me because you're gonna see my face really excited.
That's extraordinary goose energy.
Yes.
Extraordinary.
I mean, I was in a game today and there were no puppets, so I feel like
maybe,
you're getting the better end of this
something wrong with
deal.
your life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Real quick before we move on, B-Dave, when's Black Dice Society? When can we catch that?
Thursdays at 4 on D&D, Twitch, and YouTube. It's our Ravenloft show. It is a horror campaign. It is all kinds of terrible, and I love it with my whole heart. So yeah, D&D official, D&D, Twitch, and YouTube, 4 p.m. Pacific. We're 20 episodes in, and they're all up on YouTube.
And Streampunk's friend, our beloved friend who played Kotsji, our favorite cyborg on Calisto 6, Mark Meir, is in that cast, and I love him. He is just one of my favorite character actors. He gets so into everything he does. I just dig it.
Yes. He's a joy to behold. Yep.
Anybody else have any other announcements before we jump into tonight's game?
We don't have Sam here. I don't know.
I
Who's
know.
supposed to do this
Should
part.
we even start?
Should we just say we're all excited at the same time?
Let's, like, we're
Okay,
going to
3,
space.
2, 1. I'm excited!
All right, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's episode of Clear Skies. Welcome back. We are getting underway tonight with a very interesting session planned for us because, as you all know, last week we followed the exploits of Captain Saul and the crew who had split off from the USS Ross to undertake an unsanctioned mission behind the enemy lines, as it were, into the regrown Orion crime syndicate. Now, for those who are familiar with Clear Skies, who've been following us since the beginning, Captain Saul, being the first Orion captain in Starfleet, has a vested interest in making sure the Orion crime syndicate never returns. And upon finding out from our Orion not criminal friend, Taraz, was informed that the Orion syndicate, which they helped them bring down during the Dominion War, has once again reemerged. And not wanting to take any chances, and discovering that the Orion Syndicate might be linked to the evidence that they have uncovered recently regarding the True Way, the Cardassians who are still loyal to the Dominion and who want to see the Federation fall, Captain Saul decided to take it upon themselves to stage an operation, steal a ship right out of a Federation shipyard, and go after the bad guys. Well, that mission, as we know from last week, went pretty well. particularly because we were very fortunate to have a brilliant hacker, played by one internet sensation, Amy Dowland, who basically swooped in and saved the day. And with her help, the crew managed to uncover what was going on and figure out that there might be a third player in the game, not just this Cardassian warlord who is leading the true way, but there might be one other player in this game. But that's for the future, because as this is happening, something else transpired. While they were gone, the logs indicated that the starship USS Ross arrived at the Kinshi Delta shipyard, requested access for the pirate Neon Jaw's ship, and then the end of that duty shift, when inventory was logged, it was discovered that that ship was missing. This was, of course, by protocol, immediately reported to Starfleet Command. Starfleet Command conducted a very quick investigation, which led to Starfleet Command hailing the USS Ross, since the Ross was the last ship to see this ship in the shipyard. Since that conversation took place, the USS Ross has been ordered back to Starbase 621 at maximum speed immediately to return. And Admiral Tegas Kor has demanded to see Commander Exio, or whoever is in command, actually asked for Captain Sull, then demanded to see Commander Exio in her briefing room immediately upon arrival. Today's game begins with the USS Ross having arrived at Starbase 621. And Exio, you find yourself standing before Admiral Tegas Kor. She is an Andorian standing at about 6 feet tall, broad shoulders, and judging from what you know from Starfleet files and judging from what you see, this is a woman who got her admiral bars during the Dominion War. She was known as a cunning and resourceful commander, and to be given command of Starbase 621 here on the frontier, the edge of what was once the demilitarized zone, and then the front lines of the Dominion War. This is sort of like the outpost that is meant to be a beacon of peace and to repair all of the wounds of the Dominion War. Huge responsibility to put on a first-time admiral. She's known for having a level head and a calm demeanor, and right now you have gauged that she has raised past the typical decibels of what humans shout at. She is pacing back and forth. She pauses for a second in the middle of her shouting as you stand at attention. And then she exhales and she turns back and says, Commander Exio, there's something I need to make very clear to you. And maybe your captain didn't take this into consideration when they took the risk that they have taken. But when someone lands a command of a capital scale ship like the USS Ross, typically they have to go through a couple of hoops, as it were, before they achieve such a lofty position. You didn't have to do that, Commander. You are a hologram, the first hologram to enter Starfleet. There's a tremendous amount of responsibility on your shoulders, and there's a lot of people out there, including members of the brass and people in the press, that would leap at the opportunity to use this as an excuse to pull you right off of that ship. And if I didn't completely disagree with them, I would be tempted to do so. Unthinkable. A Starfleet captain commandeering. Starfleet has already had its James T. Kirk, Commander. We don't need any more. What the hell were you thinking? Did you make any attempt to stop? Don't even answer that. I don't even want to know. I'm going to want a full report, and I can't guarantee your career isn't on the line right now. I certainly can't vouch for Captain Sull or the rest of their command staff.
You may not have to, Admiral, but I do vouch for the captain's decisions. They deemed it necessary, based on the information we had, that we needed to move quickly and as efficiently as possible.
That might be true, Commander. It might be true that decisive action needed to be taken. I'm only just now seeing all of this data that your science team has presented to me about the subspace tears, these particle fountains that you've uncovered and the possible connections, and it's a fascinating read. But it is not the purview of the diplomatic flagship of the Federation to conduct these operations without the authorization of the brass. You don't just go off and save the day without running it through your commanding officers. There's no excuse for this. At best, Commander Sol will be locked in a brig and stripped of their command. Captain. Demoted. That's a best-case scenario. Unthinkable. So many people, so many members of the brass went to bat to get Captain Sol this command, to get you your place on this starship, the Ross, an experimental diplomatic flagship. So many people tried to dismantle that ship before it was finished being built. We don't need a diplomatic flagship, they said. The Dominion War was raging. Resources needed to be allocated to newer ships that were capable of warfare. But no, we agreed that we needed to have something that would symbolize Starfleet's future. And this crew was meant to be the shining beacon of that future.
Admiral, I still believe we are, Admiral. We have done nothing but incredible work in the diplomatic corps. Our ambassadorial suite has successfully negotiated several deals between the Dominion, and we have been incredibly successful. And all of our reports have shown nothing but exemplary behavior, that we have been pushed up the track, Admiral. We are doing our due diligence, and we are indeed earning it. We may have had help in the beginning, and I may have had help in the beginning, Admiral, as we all do need. But I will say that I have earned my place as a commander. It was not handed to me. I may not have the same amount of years as other officers, but I have the intelligence and the experience required to do this job, and I am performing it admirably.
Don't you see, Commander? Everything you just said is true. Until now. And that's why I'm angry.
You are welcome to be angry, Admiral. But I will say that I will take any whipping that you lash at me. But aren't we being a little rash, as we do not know the outcome of the captain's success yet?
This is not a mitigating circumstance.
Is it not?
No. Sol succeeds. Wonderful. We'll use the information. And then Sol burns. It's that simple. Insubordination is not something you negotiate in Starfleet.
I don't believe that's true, Admiral. As you've cited a separate captain that did the same behavior, there are negotiations always, and that is why we are a diplomatic ship, Admiral. We do what is necessary to do what's right by the Federation.
This diplomatic ship is going to have to continue on without its captain after this. And I can't guarantee your future either, particularly because you didn't come to me with this. Which, by the way, was your duty to do. This was an unsanctioned mission. The repercussions... I won't go in circles about this. No one's questioning the track record of the Ross. Everyone knows about the first contact mission with the Jashashians. Everyone knows the scientific community is still buzzing by what you've discovered in the Shackleton Expanse. Everyone knows about your rediscovery of the crystalline entity. Everyone knows everything you have all done. And it's been jeopardized now just because of this one thing. And I can't. And before she finishes the sentence, a klaxon begins to blare. Red alert begins to go off in her office on the space station on Starbase 621. So, Jake, can we get our red alert? As suddenly you see the red begin to glow, you hear, and you hear, Admiral. She immediately turns. She goes, "What's going on?" She says, "We have a level 6 shockwave headed straight towards the station, Admiral." And she looks up at you with shock. Immediately, as this is happening all in the moment, just to give you a quick reference point, a level 12 shockwave is what happened in Star Trek Generations when the sun exploded.
Is there a sun in or like
level
relative
6
proximity?
No. A level 6 shockwave is about half the strength and dangerous. So as she hears that, you start hearing the shouts of people over intercoms of telling everyone to take basically everyone is being told to take battle stations. Everyone is locking down. Station staff begins to run around. People are like pinning down, getting into safety areas immediately.
Okay.
She says, shields are up. What's the trajectory? How much time do we have? About 45 seconds. She looks at you and she's like, that's not enough time to get the ships out of here. Tell all civilian craft to immediately depart. Those who have not capable to depart, tell them to take position behind the space station. We'll block a brunt of the blow.
Permission to be dismissed.
Absolutely not. You're staying with me. USS Ross, you are to immediately take position on the other side of the station. You hear an acknowledgement from the other side, and you hear Vren's voice. Not Vren, who is like on the bridge right now and not sure what to do. You hear him come back, and you can hear Exio. You can hear the shakiness in his voice, and he just goes, Admiral, we don't have a ranking officer on board the bridge right now, Admiral.
I think it's you.
When you say that, Ambassador, she turns and looks at you, Exio, and she says, report back to the bridge.
Thank you, Admiral. I blip.
Okay, when you arrive on the bridge of the USS Ross,
Yes.
You see the Ross is also at red alert.
Yes,
And as you
good.
beam on, your science officer, who is currently sitting in place of Lieutenant Jane Lacat, why don't you go ahead and give us a brief description of yourself, Rick?
Lieutenant Cohn is a Bajoran, and he is kind of on the older side. I guess I'm kind of picturing like almost like Christopher Lloydish kind of kind of wacky gray hair, and he has not advanced through the ranks quite as fast as some of his younger counterparts, but he's a very intense thinker, and he sometimes talks out loud to himself a little bit as he's working through problems. I don't want to.
Okay. So I'm going to have you go ahead and make me a reason science check. So who would like to roll for the Ross? Okay, well, the dog's going to roll for the Ross. Because anybody who's going to pipe up that much, I'm not going to argue with that.
I raised my hand, but I realized now you probably didn't see me.
I'll
roll.
Yeah, go ahead and roll.
Because I usually do. So.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll for the Ross. So this is a reason science. The difficulty of this is going to be 0 because you're basically getting sensor information coming in.
And this is computer science on my side?
That's correct. Now, it's a quick refresher. Some of our new players haven't played this game in a hot minute, so let me just go ahead and do a quick refresher. You always roll 2d20, and this is going to melt your brain, but 20s are bad and 1s are good. You want to roll, I know. Make sure to burn sage around your dice after you play this game tonight when you go back to your D&D games this week. So 1s are good. You want to roll, the target number is always going to be your ability plus your skill added together. So in this case, your reason and your science, add them together. You want to roll that or lower. If you have a specialty that would apply, say like sensors, then whatever your skill rating is becomes the new critical threat range. So let me give you an example. If you roll a natural 1 in this game, it's a critical hit. You get 2 successes from that. If, say, I said, make a sensors check, and you said, I have sensors as a focus, I would say, what's your sensor skill? And what's your science skill? And you said, it's 4. Then that means if you roll a 1, 2, 3, or 4, now it's a critical hit. And that's how that works. That's the foundation of the entire game. All right? So, with that in mind, Rick, what'd you get?
I got okay. So my reason and my science is 17 together. So I got 2 10. So that's 2 successes.
2 successes.
But as far as focuses go, it has to be like a sensor's focus. Like if I have a computer's focus, that
it doesn't have to
like
be. You could ask me what focuses apply here. In this case, it's just a sensor check. But 10 is high enough where it's too high for your skill anyway. It would need to be 5 or lower because they don't go any higher than that.
Well, the Ross helps.
So Ross helps. So 3 successes.
You get one. Yeah, a success
okay.
for Ross. Yeah.
So everybody, add 3 momentum to your party pool. You have 3 tokens that you guys can spend. You have momentum that y'all can spend in game to add extra dice to a roll, or my all-time favorite thing, spend enough momentum and you can make something true. And this simulates how in Star Trek characters are super competent. They know exactly what they're doing, or they're really lucky, or for whatever it is, they just get out of the jam. So as soon as Exio blips onto the bridge, you hear, Commander on the bridge. And as that happens, your sensor station, Lieutenant, begins to blare, indicating that there is a level 6 shockwave 28 seconds away from impacting the station. You are already getting a point of origin, but more importantly, the Ross is moving into position and taking position behind the station to literally brace against the oncoming wave.
I'm guessing it went well.
You just get a quick side glance with a smile, like, yeah, sure.
I can feel that it didn't go well.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And I just, out of the corner of my mouth, say, exactly as one thought. What are we getting on sensors?
Shockwave. Shockwave in 25, 24, 23. We have a point of origin, but I don't know if right now is the time. Okay,
what is the shockwave consisting of? Is there particles in it? Is there debris?
Good question. If you want, you can spend one of those points of momentum to ask that question.
Let's do it. You scanned.
You already got the scan, so you can burn that point of momentum and ask a question, and I'll answer it for you.
Everyone okay if we burn one?
Yeah.
Okay, down to 2.
All right. So the shockwave
stomach growls.
Yeah, that's what that was. The shockwave is consistent with a surge of energies from across the spectrum. But the one thing that stands out to you, Exio, is when you're looking at that surge of power that's radiating out, you do see distinct spiked traces of polaronic particles.
Okay.
Yes.
Polaronic particles. Is that the things we've been researching? The ghost haunted space. Great.
Your reaction was correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Lieutenant Cohn, please send while we're bracing, when you are able, please send all of these readings down to Dr. Yada.
Yeah. Yes, Captain.
All right. Sort of. Vryn, the Andorian helmsman, who's just sitting to your left.
How are we?
He what's that?
Are we in place?
He just goes, "This is as good as we're gonna get, Captain."
10, 9, shipwide. We're on red alert. Everyone in their place.
Everyone brace for impact.
Brace for impact.
All right. Who has a ship sheet for the USS Ross ready? I'm gonna go ahead and, because y'all are at red alert, shields are up, but you see the shockwave visually on screen approaching the station. It's not quite the size of the shockwave that, say, the Excelsior had to endure when Praxis exploded, but it's visually huge. And as you see it moving towards the station, you realize Starbase 621 is about to have a wild ride.
Oh.
As it impacts, you see the station visually shift. Now, keep in mind, Starbase 621 is not the full-size Starbase. It's not the size of Starbase 1 back at base. Literally half that size. But keep in mind, that scale of size is still something close to 8 to 12 times larger than the Ross. And the starbase shifts. You see the momentum actually slam into it, and its stabilizers aren't enough to keep it in place. And you hear Vryn shout just as the shockwave roars over the Ross, matching, as the Ross is now going to take damage.
Okay.
So I'm going to roll. Everyone's braced for impact.
Oh, God, the one thing Sand made me promise was no holes in the ship.
Yeah, I think I remember that too.
Technically, you are not the one that are putting the holes in the ship, though.
That is a good point.
Should also
This is
just
true.
never make this promise to Sam. It's not one we're capable of
And
keeping.
also, Lieutenant or Captain Saul is not on the ship, so as long as there aren't holes on the ship when they get back, we have done our due diligence.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, are you guys ready to jiggle?
Yeah. Okay, so here's what happens. First of all, the shockwave hits. Everyone feels that shockwave smash into the USS Ross. The concussive force, even though this shockwave is basically, it's like a wave pouring over the top of the Ross, like water crashing over the top of a rock instead of into it. But still, it's enough of a concussive force that the Ross is going to take a whopping 10 damage, which should drop its shields. So that's going to be 2 breaches.
So we have not just 1, but 2 holes in the ship. Cool. Tight. Nice.
That's the impact. Everyone feels it. The sparks on board the bridge pop, and you see a few of the consoles take damage. So now I'm going to have to go into the breaches table. Ross is a scale 6 ship.
Yeah. I don't think I have the ability to edit in this unless I...
No holes.
I roll... Okay, weapon system, so you don't have to worry too much about that. So write this down. That's going to be 1 breach to the weapon system. So when so the weapons are basically taken offline. They'll just need to be repaired.
Okay.
Which is like a minor action. You don't have to worry about that. But let's see what the next one is. Sensors. Oh no, sensors. Sensors also are not like sensors are going to be knocked offline. Sensors. Oh, all tasks. Okay, hold on. No, sensors are still functioning, but sensors are damaged. They are all scans. Everything requiring sensors increases in difficulty by 1.
Okay. We have engineers.
And so the Ross takes 2 breaches. And what does that put her shields at?
I am not entirely sure. Give me just a second. Some of this is... So our current total is, well, if we took 10 damage, that means I think we're at 7.
7? Okay.
I think so. Yeah. Shields are... The total number of shields is 17. So if we took
17? Yeah, you're at 7. So the shield's held. Plus, you got some pretty tough hull plating. Unfortunately, this was not actually, you were not being hit by a weapon system. So you guys see the bridge lights go flicker, and then one of the consoles sparks and explodes behind you, Exio, as you hear someone hitting the ground. And the Ross begins to drift a little bit. Vryn pulls themselves back up to the console and gets it under control. It says, stabilizing, putting us back on axis, Captain. And you finally see the shockwave passes by all of you.
Yeah.
No idea how the civilian ships that were stationed around 621 are doing, but you see visibly Starbase 621, the lights are flickering.
Yeah.
Power all over the station from the exterior flickers on and off as it drifts slightly.
Who fell behind us? Because Oleg's going to turn around and look at the scene.
It's Yeri Prawl.
All right.
You see some sizzling going up from the console, and Prawl is on the ground with his hands in front of his face. And he starts to pick himself up, but you can see burns all over his palms as he's trying to pick himself up off the ground. He goes, ah!
Do you need sick bay?
And he goes, no, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm gonna need sick bay.
Okay. I'll cover for now. See you back soon.
Status
report.
As Yeri Prawl steps away from the tactical, stepping up to take his place, why don't you give us a description of yourself, tactical officer, who's filling in for Lieutenant Commander Yeri Prawl?
Oh boy, big shoes to fill. You see, my beard disappear for a second. You see a middle-aged Tellarite man, little bit of the beard all around, gray up in there, very sort of staunch-faced, walking in, taking measure of every corner and edge, making sure everything is in the right place. As he comes in and takes a deep breath right before getting to Pral's space here up on the bridge.
Okay. You take over at the tactical console. Meanwhile, down in main engineering, Sundry, who had been left in command and to oversee engineering, is currently nursing a very similar injury. There's 3 engineers that are on the ground right now that she's helping pick up. And you hear, engineering to bridge.
Yes.
Commander, we took a hell of a hit just now. I'm going to have to take the warp core offline for a few minutes.
Yes, if you deem it necessary, that go ahead.
We're going to switch to the secondary power systems in the secondary warp core in the saucer section. Should be enough to keep the Ross at full power, but I'm also going to need to go to sickbay. I'm going to hand things over.
No problem. Exio flips through who is next to command.
Okay. And you see the file pop up. B-Dave, why don't you give us a description of your character and your name?
Hello. I'm Zephyr Howitzer. I'm happy to be working in engineering today. We're going to get this back online. Not going to breach. Everything's going to be good. Zephyr Howitzer, human.
Oh boy, we have a human. You see Lieutenant Zephyr Howitzer.
Lieutenant Howitzer.
Captain, yep. It is a mess down here.
Well, then let's do our best to clean it up.
Absolutely. We're going to try and get the warp core back online, but I figure we need to try and keep the shields up in case we get hit again.
Yes, working on that currently. We'll keep you in the loop.
And I'll make sure you have all the power you need. You treat her like a lady, she'll get you home.
Real quick.
Exio contemplates whether or not this ship has a gender identity and then considers it. I wonder if they have one.
Also, because shields were raised, go ahead and subtract. And the warp core was taken offline.
And one warp core is taken off. So
subtract 4 power from the Ross's sheet.
Okay.
Okay. So for the first time ever, the Ross has been rocked by a serious impact.
Yes.
It's the first time you've had to take the warp core offline like this, but the instability after the impact of the shockwave is apparently severe. I'm going to have Lieutenant Howitzer go ahead and as you approach the engineering station, go ahead and make a roll. Make your engineering check. This is going to be control engineering, and the Ross can help here.
Is it engines engineering?
No, this actually be computers engineering.
Cool.
Is it going to help with the number, or is it going to help just give us success?
What's that?
The Ross helping, is it going to affect the roll, or is it going to give us success?
It's going to. So basically, Aki is going to roll a single die, and the Ross is assisting to try to give you more successes.
Got it.
Because I know your character sheet, B Dave, I can tell you that you have the warp core focus. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's going to come into play.
How will that? So what I have on the die is a 2 and a 19, which to me is a hit and a miss. But 15. Well, control plus engineering is 15. I have not done anything for the warp core, but I'll have a 19 on the die.
But good news is while the 19 is dangerously close to getting a complication, the 2 triggers a critical success. So you got 2 successes.
All right.
Plus 1 from the Ross.
So 3 successes total, and the difficulty was only 1. Here's the thing about the USS Ross. The Ross is the first starship in history of this scale to have 2 fully operating warp cores at the same time. The smaller warp core located right here in the saucer section, and the main warp core, which is right here. The resulting of this is the Ross has a temperamental power system. Even though it's been upgraded and updated where it doesn't require as much maintenance, getting rocked like this, there's so much power juiced up in the USS Ross that taking the warp core offline was the smart play. Even though right now systems are showing stability, you don't want to have any kind of containment breach when you're in the middle of trying to recover. So with your successes, what you get is you're going to be able to restore, roll a d6. We're going to kind of wing this, but I'm going to say, because the Ross has 2 power warp cores, we're going to say that bringing the secondary warp core into the main power stream, 4? Okay. So add 4 back. That'll probably bring the Ross back up to full power. So secondary warp core restores the Ross. Shields are still down to 7 though. That hasn't changed.
A couple of decks might lose replicator access for a couple hours there.
Yeah. But one of the benefits of having 2 warp cores is the Ross is able to kind of pull this out of the hat. All right. Things seem to be stabilizing, but you hear Vryn's say, "Oh, Commander, I've got casualty reports coming in from the ship. 14 wounded. Everyone else seems to have held minor damage to the hull. Nothing significant.
When you said casualties, I thought something very different.
Injuries. Sorry.
Thank you. Be careful with your words when you are anxious, friend.
I Commander.
Okay, so open communications. Hail every ship. Hail all the civilian ships.
All right. That would be, I think that's actually going to be you, Donkus.
Yeah. Okay. So then I will turn to the Tellarite and say, "Welcome aboard, Lieutenant Donkus."
Good to be aboard, Captain. A little bit dusty around. Wish that everybody had handled everything better, but it could be worse.
It definitely could, indeed, Lieutenant. We don't know the status of the other ships, so this may end up being more of a rescue mission than we first anticipated. And please open a comms to the rest of the ships. We might need to provide much aid. So also, in the back of your mind, start planning. I'm talking to you. I know.
I love it. I was like, do I say something or should I just?
No, I should talk this way.
For those of y'all who don't know, Gina and Joey are literally sitting right next to each other.
Ruining the illusion of Zoom TTRPGs for everyone.
Literally home gaming this right now.
Yeah. Lieutenant Donkus, please start putting together a list of security officers you deem acceptable for this mission, should there need be.
Right away, Captain. And I'll go about doing the thing the captain said. Hailing frequencies to civilian ships, seeing who needs aid, reports of casualties and injuries, all of that.
Okay, go ahead, and we're going to say, actually, this would be a good opportunity for you to make a, hold on one sec, I've got your character sheet right here. Come on. You were kind enough to give me your character sheet. Here we go. Okay. Let's see, because you're gonna. Okay, so you're basically hailing all of the vessels around, and you're checking in to find out.
Yeah, just like a community status report.
Okay. Why don't we do this then, Donkus? I'm gonna say make a presence command check, and the Ross is gonna use communications and. What were the others? Let's see. We've never actually used the communication skill before. Do you realize that? Like, as far as I know on this show, I don't know that we've ever used the communication skill.
We rarely actually roll for establishing comms, so.
It's true. In this case, though, I'm going to have the Ross roll. I'm going to have you roll communications and command.
Command, okay.
Cool. Yeah. So the difficulty of this is going to be 1. So tell me you just need 1 success.
I think I was aiming for a 13. I got an 8 and a 14. So that's 1 success.
Okay, cool.
I almost crit, but we did get a success.
Okay, so that's another momentum to the pool then. So make sure to keep track of that.
We're at 5.
So, Donkus, what you get back is a lot of the civilian ships were able to get out of the way of the blast. Many of them were able to plot a course and do a quick warp jump to just out of range of the blast. Mostly it was steering off of the main part of the axis. They were able to dodge the worst blunt of that shockwave. The few civilian ships that got hit with it were able to use the starbase to their advantage and are not suffering any injuries right now. You do hear that there are some people that have been knocked around on the vessels, but because they're so much smaller than the Ross, they were able to get away with not getting as much of a blow that the Ross did.
Excellent. Lieutenant Cohn, any information on whether or not we're going to get another one of those?
Good question.
Good question, Captain.
That is what a captain is for, usually.
Do I have any information like that?
You can roll for it.
Okay.
Can we use our existing information? We're literally studying this phenomenon at the moment. Can that research provide a sort of bonus to the scene, an advantage?
So you do have a point of origin.
Yeah.
We're able to pinpoint that almost immediately because it's not terribly far from where you all are.
Yeah.
It's not impulse distance. It's a warp distance away at least.
Oh, okay.
But
based on our past information, have there been multiple pulses? Because it's usually that like center gravitational. Mm-hmm. If you're in that blast, you're kind of screwed and tend to get sort of fried and stationary. But past the initial explosion, have we had any research done in whether it continues to sort of?
No, it doesn't seem like there's any. Well, this also is a little unique. I'll give you this without having to spend momentum. But what the Ross has been able to determine on its sensors right now is that this shockwave this hasn't been recorded by the Ross before.
Okay.
This is a different kind of shockwave that you've not recorded this.
Oh. Okay. Okay, how are we? I want to get back up to full. Where are our shields? How are we? Full scale. Everyone, come together. Tell me what's happening.
That would be engineering.
Okay, Lieutenant Howitzer, how are we doing?
Yes, Captain.
How are you doing?
Was better about an hour ago, but we'll be better, even better an hour from now.
Can't say that I was, Lieutenant, but I'm glad to hear that you were.
If that shockwave was not the worst thing that's happened to you tonight, you have my sincerest sympathies. How are we doing? I guess I had 3 successes, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, what?
So the Ross right now, shield power is down to 7, I believe is what you recorded. Is that right, Aki? So shield power is down to 7, which is significant, but the Ross has an extraordinarily powerful shield system. All in all things considered, the Ross is fully operational. She just doesn't have her main warp core online. That's the only thing.
How long before that?
We could do anything other than jump out of here real quick. Impulse power only, Captain.
Good to know. And how far away did you say the origin was, Lieutenant Cohn?
So, Cohn, go ahead and roll a science check, because this is going to... You've got the point of origin. Let's go ahead and use this as a roll to generate more momentum. So I'll put the difficulty of this as 0.
This is like science and reason?
Yeah, reason, science, and then the Ross is going to roll sensors and computer. I'm sorry, sensor science.
Start working at the controls, and I'm just like, I can't think like this. Okay.
You know, Commander, if worse comes to worse and we can't get that second warp core online anytime soon, we could always try something we haven't tried before.
Forgive me, I had a glitch in my system. Repeat that?
I was mentioning that if worse comes to worst and we can't get the secondary, the main warp core online, we do have one sitting right underneath our butts, and we could still go wherever we want. We just have to leave part of the ship behind. and we haven't done it before.
Bless you, Captain.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Well, did we find out how far away?
we're
One
about to.
success on that?
One success. Okay.
Yeah.
What did the Ross roll?
Also success.
So add 2 momentum to your pool.
We've spent 1, right? So we're currently at 4.
No.
I'm asking him, not telling.
We are at full as
Yeah,
far
we're
as
full
like.
up.
Yeah, we're full
Okay.
up.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to juice y'all up with
You don't
with
want to
momentum.
Can't imagine why. Like, no. It's
Oh,
fine.
boy.
Like, I mean, clearly we're just gonna relax here and dock at this space station for the rest of the episode. I don't see why we need all this extra hubbub. And
Captain.
cannot escape at high warp.
Commander? Commander, I'd like to voice one slight concern if I'm not overstepping my bounds.
Specifically, Lieutenant Donkus.
Whoa. You, just real quick, y'all have major echo. Just giving y'all a heads up.
Yeah,
There we go.
if the shockwave hit us and it didn't seem to have dissipated, that shockwave's keeping going. We may want to send a warning frequency to any other ships, anything in the distance that may be nearby.
That is an excellent insight, Lieutenant Donkus. You're free. Please do so.
Yeah, if there's any way to...
Yeah. No, you just say it and do it. Like, that's just sitting at an emergency frequency to let everybody know, like, hey, just so you know,
Okay.
a big ass wave is headed your way.
Watch out.
Don't be caught unawares.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And while you're at it, please hail the Admiral.
All right. So, hailing the Admiral.
Yes.
Coming up on screen, you see the Admiral's face, and she looks disheveled, and you see a cut on her brow. It's judging from what you are seeing on the view screen of the background of the starbase, they got hit really hard. You can see emergency crews behind her as she's just touching her forehead. And she waves off a medic who's immediately trying to like help her out. She goes, stop, and says, Commander Exio, what's the status of the Ross?
We are at full power, Admiral, but our shields are still down. To not full. How are things over where you are?
We've
You're right.
sustained some heavy injuries over here. The starbase's hull took the brunt of it, but we've experienced significant power fluctuations throughout the starbase. Right now, we have plasma conduits rupturing on multiple decks. We're trying to get emergency crews to repair them. Do you have a point of origin on the shockwave?
We do. One moment, sir. And I sort of wave to Lieutenant Cone to send that information over to the Admiral.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So she takes a look at it, and what you get is it's about, let's see. One second. It's about 3 light years from here. So this shockwave has been traveling some time. This has been traveling through space to get to point of origin. You would need to travel at warp 7 for a full day. So this shockwave has been on the move for some time.
But no one detected it until 45 seconds before it hit?
Yeah. Not only that, but the sheer magnitude of its force from traveling for 3 light years indicates that wherever its point of origin was must have been apocalyptic, wherever it took place at.
Admiral, do we have a list of ships and or stations that might be between here and that point?
You see she sighs with this irritation. You can see it in her face, Exio, as she says, currently, the USS Ross is the only ship in operations in this area. which means I'm sending you to investigate. Get your primary warp core back online as soon as you can and immediately proceed to the origin point of the shockwave to discover what caused this. And I'm not done talking with you, Commander.
Of course not. I'll see you when we get back, Admiral.
621 out.
And then a smile.
All right.
You heard me. You heard the Admiral. Get our shields back up and let's move out.
Captain.
Yes, Lieutenant.
It is quite puzzling why long-range sensors wouldn't have picked this up. I would suggest you have engineering examine our long-range sensors to make sure they're functioning, but I would also like to get to work examining these polaronic particles to see if perhaps it can recalibrate the sensors in such a way that we might pick up a second wave if it comes this way.
Yes, I'll have you coordinate. Yes, please coordinate with Lieutenant Howitzer, correct? Lieutenant Howitzer.
Yes, Captain. That's Zephyr Howitzer.
Yes, Lieutenant Howitzer. Please.
Oh. Vryn
What?
swivels around in his chair and looks at you and says, Polaronic. That's
Yes,
the stuff that... So, okay, this is wild, and I'm not science guy. Yeah, the Andorian looks over at you.
You are not.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. But I know at least a little bit about how things travel, and being helmsman and all. The cat said something about subspace and these particle fountains and everything that we're studying.
Yes.
Is it? Okay, so I know that that's linked to some kind of polaronic energy that we've been tracking down from all this stuff that we've encountered recently in the torpedo and all that crap. But Commander, what if the polaronic energy had some kind of interaction with subspace, and maybe that's why we didn't detect it on long-range sensors? Like maybe it is kind of like traveling through subspace or something. In which case, maybe it's time to get like Dr. Yada on or Yugos or I could shut up. That's always a viable option. Yes, Commander. And he swivels back in his chair.
Lieutenant Cohn. Lieutenant Howitzer, can you please meet me in Cetacean Ops? I believe we're going to pull a very, very long session right now.
I'm on the way.
As the three of you leave the bridge, Olin, you are feeling the collective thousands of crew members on board and their panic from the impact of that shockwave. Ox Crew's keeping it together, but you can feel there is a lot of frightened people on board, particularly because some of the folks, if you remember, since the mandate got passed down the ranks, the Ross has been allowed to have families on board again ever since you all left Shackleton Expanse. There's a lot of folks that are pretty spooked right now, and you're beginning to feel it. It's kind of creeping in as you're sitting there. And you can tell because Patience is looking at you, sitting there very calmly next to you. Also a little rattled, but Patience, being very privy to how you interact, is staring at you with concern.
Olin reaches out and gives, Patience a little scritch behind the ears, and then kind of sits back in their chair, and I guess is contemplating how they can help in this situation, because this isn't a diplomatic thing, it's a science thing, and yeah, they mostly just kind of sit quietly in contemplation about how they can possibly reduce some of the strain on board. And that's kind of where they are right now.
You can feel it getting a little closer as leaving the helm station after XEO exits the bridge. Vryn moves over and sits in the center chair. He settles into it for a moment and just okay.
How does
as you see one of the Ox Crew take his station at helm, and Vryn just kind of scratches his neck for a moment and says, keep feeding damage reports and status reports across the decks to this station here at the command chair, please. And slaps his legs a little bit and goes, okay.
Olin reaches into like the little side compartment next to their chair and pulls out a rubber ball and hands it to Vren.
That's where they keep it. Oh.
You didn't find out from me.
Oh. He just holds the ball up and just goes, oh.
Use the responsibility wisely or you won't get to keep it.
Down at Cetacean Ops. So the three of you arrive at basically the same time. Cetacean Ops, for those of you who have not yet been to Cetacean Ops, is a very large deck. Enlarged by meaning it is a wide open space that has a large glass wall. This is on deck 13, and it takes up a vast majority of this deck because not only does it function as an operations area for the Cetacean officers on board, but it's also a place where a stellar cartography operates on board the vessel. When you all walk in, you step into a very cool blue glow of Cetacean Ops. On the other side of the glass, you see, there be whales here. There are Cetacean officers. You see whales, indeed, swimming about inside their operations area with holographic displays in front of them and a few of the metal plants on the side of their head that allow them to communicate. At one of the windows, you see a very large orca-sized whale, or a cetacean officer, I should say, hovering an Odanian, which is sort of like a distant, like, cousin, if you want to say, at least in appearance, to some of the cetaceans that you have seen in Star Trek and on Earth. And what you see as you are stepping into this is you see one of the officers that's hovering up there is standing in front of Dr. Yugos, who is the Dishashian that you've all had first contact with. Yugos looks rattled. His first subspace shockwave. He's kind of just like... And Yada is just talking to him, and he's just nodding along with it. When the three of you walk in, he stands up from the floor as you see a couple of Federation science officers are moving about the area. And you hear from the overhead, as Dr. Yada, the cetacean officer on the other side of the glass underwater, you hear the calming voice of Dr. Yada say, Commander, that was quite the bumpy ride. It got a little sloshy in here.
I hope it wasn't too much for you to handle, Dr. Yada.
No, in fact, I feel bad for you all. As you might imagine, Cetacean Ops, it was just a mild ripple.
Let me introduce you to Lieutenant Howitzer and Lieutenant Cohn. They will be interfacing with you, as I think we all could use a little insight into what you and Lieutenant Lucat have been researching.
Very well. What can I do for you specifically? Dr. Yada stands up and says, yes, any help we can be.
Well, Lieutenant Cohn discovered that the point of origin of the shockwave, but we were not notified until 45 minutes prior.
Oh, yes.
Or 45 seconds. Forgive me.
45 seconds. Is that usual for a shockwave? And Dr. Yada pops up and says, not with our modern technologies, no. It used to be at a period of time where we would encounter shockwaves throughout space, considering most of them do travel at the speed of, or close to the speed of light, I should say, but not all of them. We've gotten quite good at detecting when they're incoming. Our long-range sensors are quite powerful. It's not usual, and I think our science officer, Dr. Cohn, would agree, and you just see the cetacean officer's head kind of angle towards you.
It's extremely unusual, but the hypothesis about subspace being involved is quite intriguing, and it's a little premature to pronounce on it right now, but there definitely could be something there.
Yugos pipes up immediately and goes, subspace? Something about subspace? What's happened?
The possibility that the wave traveled through subspace, evading our long-range sensors. If such a thing is true, we could get hit with another wave just like it 45 seconds from now. anything is possible.
One of the Ox crew ensigns looks up from their data pad a few feet away and just looks super nervous, and they just nod and go back to their data pad.
We're just hypothesizing. There's no reason to be nervous. I mean, we're not probably going to hit by another wave 45 seconds from now. Although,
on the other hand, Dr. Yugos is like, that's incredible. A subspace shockwave? It's not unheard of, but of one of that size that would rattle the Ross. A subspace shockwave. May I see the data that you've collected? Maybe I could, Dr. Yada, would you like to help me? And Yada says, oh, no. This is not my area of expertise. If you wanted a second pair of eyes, I could certainly help there, but I'm student in the class right now. That's very kind of you. Let me see here. I see. Polaronic energies. And he looks up at you, Exio. I'm guessing you saw that part.
There is a reason we did come here.
Polaronic energies in a shockwave of that magnitude is unheard of. I've never heard of polaronic energies being used. Polaronic energies, by their very nature, tend to drain energy. They tend to be a source of power degradation. It might even be theorized that the original shockwave was even more magnificent than the one that struck us.
Likely.
That's unusual, though. There might be a connection. Polaronic energies being seen in a shockwave like this.
And connection to what?
Well, not to continue to alarm anyone, but he looks over at Dr. Yada and says, don't worry, I'm thinking the same thing, Dr. Yada says. And Yugos turns back to everyone and says,
there's no need for hesitation.
Well, it's possible that our theory that someone is trying to manipulate subspace to create particle fountains, this could be someone trying to do that. Or this could be them doing that.
Then
It's possible that when we arrive at the point of origin, we might find a particle fountain waiting for us. And if we do, the impact of a particle fountain being artificially created in such a violent manner could have repercussions on subspace across the entire quadrant. Yeah.
Have I seen the sensor data of where this originated from?
Yes.
I realize this is near the old neutral zone / demilitarized zone. From where we can tell this originated, whose space would this? Did this originate from Federation space?
This is kind of... So ever since the Dominion War ended, a lot of the borders have been shifting back to where they were before the war began. Where this point of origin originated from puts it somewhere between the Cardassian and Federation border. It was originally the demilitarized zone. It was originally sort of no man's land, as it were. But as it is right now, it's kind of like an open border. It's really nobody's territory right now. But it is in the direction of Cardassia space, yes. And it's south of Zenkethi space. So, yeah.
Okay.
Galactic south, I should say. Yeah.
When we are prepare for the worst case scenario. I'd rather start large and then be relieved if we are wrong. Do you understand?
I think so.
Lieutenant Howitzer.
Captain.
How long before we have our shields full?
The shields are coming along nicely. It's the warp core that was a little bit of more of an obstacle. Shouldn't be too terribly much longer. A couple of hours, I think. If you want the whole ship.
Do we need the whole ship?
I mean, you could proceed. So the maximum warp with the secondary warp core is warp 6. So it'd take you a hot minute to get there because that's a significant difference from warp 7, believe it or not.
Yeah, we need the full thing.
But if you wanted to get the ship back online, that would just be a rolling to get the repairs done, and that would just be.
Well,
One day I'm going to get my saucer separation. One day.
I mean,
let
you
me
could
see.
do it.
Let me see what I can do, because what the captain needs, the captain gets. So, I guess I roll 2.
Okay, so normally this would be what's
sorry.
called an extended task, but in this particular case, since I'm not going to time this thing out, I'm going to set this as a pretty steep difficulty. So I'm going to set it at a difficulty. Well, I shouldn't say steep, but a challenging difficulty. We're going to set it at a difficulty 3. Now, you are going to get some assistance, even though Dari is offline. The Ross is going to assist you on this. What's up?
With the warp core, my warp core focus, does that that makes it crit on a 4, on a 1 to 4, or how does that work? Sorry.
What's your engineering skill?
My engineering is 4.
So 1 to 4, you get a crit.
Well, I have 3 successes myself then.
Okay, that's phenomenal. What did you get, Ross? Nothing.
Ross is
All
no
right,
hope. She's feeling
so-
cranky.
So then, in that case, we'll just say narratively, what happens is when you get the order to get that primary warp core back online, that's your cue to get down to engineering and organize those teams, get those electroplasma conduits stabilized and nothing blows up on anybody, and get that primary warp core back online. So you stomp out of the room, headed straight down to main engineering.
We're sitting ducks down here. Come on, people. Let's move.
Okay.
They don't mean real ducks, right? We're not again.
Yugos goes, what is a duck?
A menace. And she blips after giving you where are you most comfortable working, Lieutenant Cone?
I can set up shop in Science Bay. I would like to start running some tests to see if there's any subspace residues. I'm trying to think of what would a cat do? What would a cat do?
Yugos laughs and says, I often ask myself that as well. May I join you?
Please.
You'll be fine here, Dr. Yada? Dr. Yada says, it's my deck, Dr. Yugos. I'll be fine. Thank you. Go and work with Dr. Cone and come to me if you need any help. And with that, just kind of nods and starts pumping his fluke and begins to immediately move away from the glass. And turning back away from the glass, Dr. Yada says, yes, lead the way.
Some cat would think of something brilliant, so all we have to do is think of something brilliant.
Or they would say something incredibly odd and dark. As the two of you walk out, maybe I should say something odd and dark as the door closes.
I give one last head nod to Dr. Yada, and then blip back to the bridge.
Okay. So here's what we're gonna do. Rick, let's go ahead and have Lieutenant Cone roll. So with this roll, you're gonna get an assist from Dr. Yada and the USS Ross.
Do you mean Dr. Yugos?
I'm sorry, Yugos, yeah. I named both my science NPCs with Y names, and I have only myself to blame. Okay, so we're gonna I'm gonna set the difficulty for this at 3.
So this is science and reason.
Science and reason.
And could I would physics apply as a focus?
Let's see. Astrophysics would absolutely apply as a focus. Yes.
Astrophysics, great.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Is this sensor science for the
sensor
Ross?
science, but it's at +1 difficulty because oh yeah, so it'll be difficulty 4 because the sensors are still being repaired. So, but go ahead and roll your dice and tell me what you get.
All right, with the astrophysics focus, that is 2 successes.
What'd the Ross get? All right. Well, luckily, Dr. Yugos also got a success, so that's 4. So it's a punishing equation to chomp on, Lieutenant Cone, because as you and Dr. Yugos sit down and start looking at the data, you begin to realize the complexity of this to try to disentangle polaronic energy from a subspace shockwave and build a model of what could have caused this. The two of you basically go to work. While all of this is happening, Donkus is having to coordinate security teams all across the deck because the security teams are basically what's keeping people, like everyone who reported to their safety areas when everyone calls for brace for impact. Medical areas are being set up all over the ship because sickbay kind of got flooded a little bit. Even though the Ross has multiple sickbays, there's a medical facility on deck 12. Main sickbay is on deck 12. There's a sickbay on deck 20 and a deck 31. Those all got pretty much filled up. So you've been coordinating, like getting people situated in and organizing people's visits into sickbay. Every bruised elbow gets looked at, every bent finger, every scrape, every cut. Everybody's okay. But what you get is the ship is mostly rattled. Olin, you find yourself kind of fulfilling the role that Exio might be taking on right now, were she not in command. You find yourself crew morale officer right now. You are going around and making sure everyone's okay. You're saddened to find that that some of the windows, including the wall of glass to your ambassador office, has been damaged from the impact of the shockwave. Easy to repair, but it just underscores how intense that shockwave was.
I think Olin replicated a bunch of chocolates, and every time they see a kid, they just can't like give them a chocolate.
Nice. Okay. So everyone is basically put to work because you nailed that success rolls. It takes about 45 minutes for the USS Ross to come back onto full power and online. So she gets restored to full power. The shields, okay, so you got 4 successes, right? No, that was a science roll. How many successes did you get, B-Dave? Do you remind me? 3, and the Ross got 1, right?
3 with the crit.
Right, with the crit. Okay, cool. So then go ahead and I'm going to say add 1 power back to the shields. So that'll put you guys back up to 8. And those can just power up as y'all go. Shields are easy enough to regenerate. They regenerate over time. You can also burn points of power off of the sheet and sink one of those into the shields as well. But at this point, you guys start to feel pretty safe that a second shockwave isn't coming. So I leave it to you, but if you want to stay at red alert, that might be the safe thing.
Yeah, we're going to stay at red alert.
Okay.
But so we are good to depart, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Then
worse than speed, you get to pick it.
Yes,
Tina.
I will have Lieutenant Donkus send the Admiral our itinerary.
Okay.
And
let her know.
Yep. And then I turn to Vren. And instinctively my hand goes for the ball, which is no longer there.
Must have gotten shaken loose.
And yeah, and Exio makes like a note to go look for it before. But and then says, okay, Vren, take us out. Warp 7. Let's get there.
Aye, Commander. Warp 7. You see the starbase in the main view screen angle away as the Ross begins to pull out from her docking position and course laid in.
We don't have civilians on board, correct?
You do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are civilians on board.
This is for something this dangerous. Is it protocol to leave civilians on?
No, unfortunately.
Station?
Unfortunately, if you are a civilian and you get on board a starship, you're basically, it's a contract you enter into. The Starfleet operations have to take precedence. So
sure, but we are at a station right now that they can get off at.
But 2,000 plus crew members and 600 of them are officers, and the
station just got beat up too.
Yeah. So you
no problem. Sometimes we just had civilian drop off, so I just wanted to make sure.
Sure.
While we were still at the station.
Yeah.
Before we went towards a volcano.
Tons of scientists and enlisted on board.
Great.
Yeah. So, all right. So y'all set off. You set a course for Warp 7, and the Ross goes, and you guys leap to Warp. It'll be precisely 1 day traveling at Warp 7 to arrive on the scene. And you, looking at the galactic map, Exio, can see that, yes, you are being taken closer to the some of the old borders of the Cardassian Union.
Okay.
In all honesty, unless y'all want to do anything, we can do a time skip.
I would like one more scene.
Yeah, do it.
With the ambassador.
Okay.
So once we've set off, I will turn and just say, "May I see you in the ready room?"
Of course, Captain. You may.
And shoo, shoo, and how
Y'all
are the
step in
crew?
too. It feels weird being here without Sol.
Yeah.
But the two of you step into the room.
A little shaken up, but there was a bit of panic among our civilians, but everybody held themselves together according to the standard that we are used to on the ship.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you. Now, as for before everything else happened, that was quite a meeting. I do believe that the Admiral is worried. Possibly not so much for the captain, but definitely for themselves. But they do have some worry for the captain. There was a lot of threats, but they seemed empty enough. So,
To be fair to the Admiral, we did put her in a fairly difficult position.
absolutely. As I'm sure every captain does to their Admiral. But I did want to ask if there was any channels that you knew to smooth the captain's inevitable reprimanding. They were threatened with demotion, and I cannot attest to that part, as the crimes are not levied against me, but
I'm not entirely sure. I'm the person with the correct influence, though I could certainly reach out to the cabinet, and if they'll listen to me, I could plea on Captain Sol's behalf. But I think that our yeoman is probably going to have the better insight on what our options are as far as potential legal avenues.
No, of course. They are currently working on that, but I mean more so in terms of the reputation. Legal actions are legal actions, but if we can, I'd like to do everything I can to make sure that everyone aboard this ship, including the captain's rank and status amongst the Federation, are not too badly destroyed.
Well, given the nature of the captain's mission, I highly doubt that anyone that this directly affects will be upset if they succeed.
This is what I said.
The thing is, you and I both know how they operate, and we know how this ship operates. Stella's not the only one that's gotten away with less than stellar behavior.
Again, and you see Exio like starting to like pace now that she's allowed to be anxious,
right,
and like annoyed about it. Is like these are all the things. I put up a good fight for our captain, Ambassador, and I know nothing will go wrong, but I just wanted to talk out the possible options of an ace up our sleeves so that when the captain gets back, we can ease their mind.
I mean, at this point, is there any other answer but Captain Sol is the ace up our sleeve and has been all this time?
And you see the shoulders kind of dip, and
Captain Sol knew exactly what it was they were, the consequences they might be facing when they took this mission on. They are not going to be surprised by whatever fallout or repercussions are awaiting them when they get back. In fact, I would say they're probably completely prepared to lose their position. That's not to say that we should allow that to happen, but nothing surprises Captain Sol.
yes.
I think
I don't want them to not be captain of this ship, Olin. This ship needs them still. And I need them still. I am acting captain, but I am not captain. I still have stuff to learn. So thank you for being by my side. This is going to be quite a test of my character.
I think Captain Sull would be the first to say that there are some things you only learn when the captain isn't aboard about what it takes to be a captain.
Well then, let me be the captain who is an expert in subspace particles that are somehow being employed in our field without our knowledge against our will.
And I guess I should, Oh.
Yes? I like a good O.
I had
Oh,
not
and a face touch too.
even considered the possibility.
Well, consider it.
You had mentioned subspace particles. Do you recall the last time we were next to a particle fountain and we had contact with that one species? The
Jashashians.
No, the flying carpet creature.
Oh, yes.
We understand through various encounters that we've had on our mission that there are creatures that exist outside of what we consider to be normal, a typical space.
Yes.
What if it's not just... Oh, I'm not the scientist aboard this ship, but what if we're not dealing with just typical space beings? What if whoever else is mixed up in this isn't actually someone we could see or hail or physically touch? What if they exist on subspace?
Then we have quite a lot more research we need to do. And luckily, we're going straight towards it. I make a quick post-it and ping send it to the group as a possible further hypothesis.
Okay.
The only reason I even thought of that is I was trying to think of how I could help. And obviously my strength lies in communication, talking to things in order to make them not do something or make them or convince them to do something we want them to do.
Of course.
And this is an enemy I can't really talk to unless it's not.
Well, we were able to communicate with the what was the species designation end up being?
The Mizuhiro?
What? That's what it was called?
Are you talking about the planet?
No, I was talking about the
you're
space
talking
worm.
about-
The magic
I don't remember. We never
came up with one.
we
Unidentified
didn't come up with
alien.
them. The only communication I had with them was through my emotions. I was able to feed them mine, and they fed me yours. And then, of course, we had the entities that you communicated with in the sick bay. We've had a lot of exposure to species that don't communicate, don't even exist on the same plane of existence as us.
Well, any more options that lead to a non-intentional, malicious plan is always, I suppose, a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or we could be dealing with a hostile subspace species that's in cahoots with whoever else is. There are multiple theories that could abound. Here we are with our red string and our corkboard. But we don't have Lacat here to do it, so we must.
All right. Well, we've got a full day and a whole lot of red string. Shall we?
Red doesn't really go with my uniform, but I'll make it work. I'm literally wearing white, the most.
I
neutral
know,
color.
and I'm in red.
Goes-
All right,
At
that's the scene. Let's
at some
get to the
point,
thing.
real quick, at some
Yeah.
point, as you exit your ready room, Yeoman Asmi Shanto approaches you and says, "Commander, I was wondering if, not now, but maybe when you have some downtime in a little bit, if I could have a word with you about the situation. I've got a suggestion, and
I'm all ears. I'm not exactly going to be sleeping.
Okay. It has to do with the captain and how to get them out of this mess.
Good. I was just discussing that with the ambassador.
Oh, I have an idea, but the captain would not like it.
I might. And I think the captain owes me one at this point.
At about that point, there is a chirping alert going off at the tactical station.
I do have one quick aside.
Yeah.
That as I came out of the ready room and we were kind of settling back into place, Olin kind of reached into like their little side compartment and pulled out one of the chocolates and like reached up over their head and like set it in front of Lieutenant Donkus.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Space is haunted.
Okay. So, real quick, Donkus, I'm going to need you to make a control... I'll have you make a control security check, and I'm going to have the Ross do a sensor security. The difficulty of this is only 1.
Control security, sensor security. Okay.
Or rather, I'm sorry, it's 2.
That's twice as difficult.
Is the ship assisting?
Oh, that's 2 successes, so we're good.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
And 1 from the Ross.
Okay, so gain another momentum.
Where are we
Long
at?
range
Do we have
sensor.
floating momentum at this point?
Yeah,
Like a
you
I
lot?
feel like we have a lot of floating
That,
momentum.
Yeah.
that should be, that's 6 by my total. I don't know what
Yeah.
constitutes floating, but that's...
Okay.
So, while you are just settled back onto the bridge, we're going to say this has been about, we'll say it's been about, maybe about 22 hours. Y'all have been at warp. You've gotten some information back from Lieutenant Cohn and Dr. Yugos. They are on the brink of figuring out what's going on and how this interacted with space. That's going to come up in just a moment, but the tactical chirp goes off as you detect a ship at long range.
Captain,
Yes, Lieutenant?
we have a ship at long range. Any further information I can give Captain on this?
You can burn a momentum to get more information, but right now, long-range sensors are only picking up a vessel.
Is
Right,
it toward... Is it towards the...
Mm-hmm.
It's
dead ahead.
Let's find out more information. The Admiral informed me that there should not be any ships in this sector.
Would you like me to hail a frequency?
You can burn that point of momentum, and I'll tell you what it is.
Burn it.
Everybody okay with it? All right, burning away.
So, you see the tactical readout come up on your screen, Donkus. You see what looks like, according to long-range sensors, a Keldon-class Cardassian warship. And this is the heaviest warship in the Cardassian fleet. And judging from long-range sensors, it is functioning at minimal power. And that's where we have to pause for our break because it's 8:05. So we will be back in 10 minutes, everyone. Don't go anywhere. See you in just a minute. Welcome back, everybody. We're going to jump right back into our game tonight. The USS Ross is en route right now to the center point of this shockwave that just exploded outwards into the Alpha quadrant, damaging Starbase 621 and damaging the USS Ross. After systems were restored, we are now on our way to the point of origin of this shockwave. After traveling at Warp 7 for about a day, you guys have detected on long-range sensors the presence of a Keldon-class Cardassian cruiser, which is currently functioning on low power. Right now, you're not getting any more information coming in, but you do see the tactical display come up on the main view screen. And Yeah, this ship, the registry has it listed as the Rovat, ROVAT.
All right. Them being in this area would not be unheard of. We're right on the corner of their space, correct?
Them being in this area wouldn't be unusual, except for the fact that Keldon-class war cruisers have all been a bit decommissioned since the end of the Dominion War. Because as a condition of the Treaty of Bajor, the Cardassian people no longer have a military. It's very similar to how things ended for Japan in World War II when the military was kind of made into a defense force only. And in this case, Keldon-class cruisers are the heaviest warships the Cardassian military had at its disposal. Highly unlikely this is just a civilian-run operation out here in a Keldon-class cruiser.
But we can't be too sure about that, can we?
You never know.
Well, we're at red alert anyway, so no reason to change what we're doing. I would say to Lieutenant Donkus that when we get in range to hail, find out if they are in danger and in need of assistance.
You could hail them from here.
Okay, then let's hail them.
I'd like to send a message down to my ambassadorial crew to ask them to get me the full history of the Rovat, everything that it's ever done, what happened to it when the war ended. I'd like to add that information onto this.
Okay, then I'm going to have you make the roll for Computer's Command, but I'll have the Ross assist on that, and that'll basically be your diplomatic staff going to work for you.
I'll let Joey resolve his stuff first.
Okay. So, you open a hailing frequency, Donkus, and you get no reply.
Captain, there's nothing on the other line.
I flit a glance to the ambassador, and then I... Lieutenant Donk, they may not have communication capabilities. Let's send a message.
All right.
And once it's on screen, I will say, this is Captain Exio of the USS Ross. We understand that there has been a shockwave and you are operating at low power. Are you in need of assistance?
There's no response.
That was a presence command roll you wanted?
Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to ask Lieutenant Cone to also make a reason science check, and the Ross will need to help with that one as well.
All right. Cool. So presence command for me plus a check from the Ross as well for that roll to get information about the robot.
Uh-huh.
What's the difficulty?
Difficulty is 1.
And for the Ross, it's computers.
It's going to be Computer's Command.
Okay. I'm rolling for myself and the Ross right now. Here we go.
All right, do it.
Any of my focuses applicable here, or?
Let me look.
It's cocked. Holy crap! Are you serious? Wow. Okay. Let's see what my
good. Holy crap! Wow, are you serious? Or bad? Good. Holy crap! Wow, are you serious?
Not great, fam. It's not great. But I'm sorry. Can you tell me what my difficulty was one more time? I apologize.
The difficulty was 1.
Oh, cool. I did succeed. I got 2 successes, but really very barely because I rolled. The Ross didn't help me at all. I rolled two 17s and a 16.
Oh wow! Okay.
It's just
thank you, Ross.
Thank you, Ross, for no help whatsoever.
Yeah. So I'll answer your question real quick. The Rovat was a ship that served in the Dominion War. Its fate is unknown according to Starfleet records, and that's about it. Okay. That is all that is known.
Ghost ship.
And then I'm rolling for. Okay, that's better. You got a success from the Ross, Rick.
I only got 1 myself.
You got one success yourself, and I'm sorry. What did the Ross get on that?
It rolled a 5. So
okay.
just one success.
So 2 successes total.
What was the difficulty of that?
Difficulty of that one was 1. Lieutenant Cohn, you are detecting.
Okay, so we're just so we know we are at full.
Cool. The Lieutenant Cohn, you are detecting the presence of some pretty unusual energy readings in this area. A lot of what appears to be disruptions in subspace. Little pockets of disruptions in subspace.
Captain, I think we have some kind of a situation here. If these readings are correct, we are picking up all kinds of disruptions in subspace. Just pockets of these strange disruptions. I'm not entirely sure what to make of it, but it's quite unusual, Captain.
Do you have a map of them so we know where to avoid?
I will get busy formulating one. If we can figure out how to do that, I'm going to conference with Yaris.
Dr. Ugas?
Dr. Ugas, if you have any ways to map where we should not be flying into, please send the relevant information to Lieutenant Bratton.
Yes, Captain.
So we'll get to that in a second. But as you set to work, Lieutenant Cohn, what you realize is you start opening up all the different programs that are available for you on the science station. What you begin to realize is 2 things. Thanks to the exploratory missions of a Miranda class, or I should say a Nova class USS Sally Ride in the Shackleton Expanse, a lot of what is known about mapping subspace anomalies while traveling at warp is well documented and well known. As a result of the USS Ross's mission in the Shackleton Expanse, same. You actually have a huge tool set to work with in sort of categorizing everything that you need to in order to map out when you guys might come across the quote-unquote bump in the road. But also because we never resolved that incredible success you got earlier with Dr. Ugas when y'all were trying to analyze the weapon or the signatures left. What you've discovered is that whatever caused this shockwave was artificial and probably a weapon of some kind, a detonating force that took place. That has given you enough information that you can probably start jotting down exactly where these tears would appear. But unfortunately, they're going to appear at random. So all you guys are going to get is a few moments warning before you come across them, which means the Ross.
That's all Bren needs sometimes.
Yeah. So essentially, as y'all are traveling at warp, it's going to be bumpy as y'all get closer to the starship.
Oh, Captain, I don't really like this. It doesn't really look like we're going to be able to map these with any degree of precision.
We will proceed with extreme caution, as there is also an unknown mystery box waiting for us in that ship.
May the prophets be with us.
You see Asmi Shanto, who is the Bajoran yeoman, who's seated just a few feet away from the commander, kind of nods to you. And she is, of course, wearing the traditional earring as well. So she nods to you when you say that, and you can see her lips move as she's muttering it back to herself and turns back to her science station. The closer you guys get, the bumpier the ride gets. Every now and then, the Ross shudders as she comes across what is essentially a bump in subspace. But it's enough to do damage to the shields. So as each time y'all are going to get closer and closer, it is going to damage the shields. Not only is it going to damage the shields, but these rifts in subspace are very similar to what you all encountered in the Shackleton Expanse. So much so that bumping into one actually runs the risk of burning out a shield emitter, which can only be replaced at a starbase. That means your shields could accidentally be permanently reduced in power.
Let's not do that.
But it's also for the science officers at the front of the ship painting a picture of what you guys are going into right now. This is definitely some subspace disruptions taking place. For this to be happening at this scale, you guys think of it like this. if there was an explosion, think of these bumps in subspace as the debris that went flying everywhere from the center point and is now just lingering out in space. As y'all are traveling, getting closer to the point of origin, I'm going to take us down to engineering, where Sundry has relinquished command of engineering over to you, Howitzer. She's not in any condition to take back the role, but she is down there with you. But she is currently under doctor's orders not to actually function or to operate any of the consoles until the injury she sustained to the back of her skull is completely healed. Which sometimes even 24th century medicine needs to let time do the trick. In this case, she's just sitting there watching you, and she's going, all right, listen, there can't be two commanding officers, so I'm just going to be in the way down here. But if you need anything, Howitzer, if you need anything at all, I'm going to be in my quarters screaming into a pillow.
Things are going to get a little bumpy down here, but I would like your opinion on something.
You immediately feel this as the Ross kind of rumbles a little bit. And she goes, yeah, what?
Is there something we could do? Maybe project out in front of us to get some idea about those subspace particles before we hit them? Like a neutrino wave, our own subspace carrier wave, like we were broadcasting a communication, get some sort of echolocation going.
Echolocation? Why? What are you trying to find?
Those things before they smash into the ship.
Oh! You're talking about trying to locate a potential subspace shockwave. Yeah, I had some thoughts on that. I mean, essentially, it would be using our communications array and linking it with our sensors array to see if maybe we can't use what we use for subspace transmissions to detect oncoming subspace shockwaves.
Seems like worth a shot, right? Like we're trying to dodge a call instead of answer, I suppose.
Yes, let's do that. Can you do that?
We're about to find out.
Great. I'm gonna go lay down.
Yeah. Hopefully you got seatbelts in your quarters.
Yeah, I don't. And then she steps onto the turbo lift. Your engineering team rallies around you. Chief Singh is down here, by the way. Chief Singh is one of the transporter chiefs, but often assists when the chief in engineering needs anything.
I've shared my fair share of Racticino with my Bajoran friend who's up. I'm man in the comm right now. Maybe we could tie in the bridge in engineering.
Yeah.
To make this go. I would like the captain to know what I'm doing in case this works or doesn't work. So, yeah.
Okay.
I would definitely try and hail him.
Okay. So you hear chirping the communicator.
Go for Exio.
We might have an idea down here, Captain.
That's the best words I could hear right now. What you got, Lieutenant?
Well, it'll be better if it works. We think we might be able to jury rig a little bit of a connection between the warp core and the sensor system, or maybe we could detect these subspace anomalies before they smash into us. Basically like we're receiving calls or broadcasting through subspace, but at least we'll know where they are, maybe avoid them.
No harm in trying.
Rick, I dearly apologize. What's your character's name?
Cone.
Cone. Could you possibly get Cone on for me? or with your permission, can I just call him directly?
Please call direct.
Cone.
You just come. Go ahead.
And I relay to him what I'm trying to do. That we're trying to hook in the sensors to the warp core, to the warp drive system to possibly detect these subspace anomalies before we find them with the ship's face.
Fascinating. It's a fascinating concept. I'm angry I didn't think of it myself. Can I assist?
I certainly hope so. And I try and explain the technobabble of what I'm actually trying to do. In that, we got all engineering down here ready to start twisting knobs and pulling levers.
Okay. Then we're going to do a roll.
Oh, I rolled a 1.
Okay, well, right off the bat.
Literally what just happened, I rolled a 20, which rolled to an 8, and I was like, aw, and then I rolled a 1, and I'm like,
Wait, no, you just did good. 20 was a complication. It means I can mess with you. But no, I haven't even spent any threat yet either. So let's, all right, so for this, you're going to be, the numbers you're going to be using for the Ross are going to be communications and engineering.
Got it.
All right. So in this finally been able to mix and match these effectively for what y'all are trying to do. So communications and engineering, and then control engineering for you, Howitzer, and then Cone, reason science to help him. So it's all of your best stuff.
And assists only are 1 dice, correct?
That's correct. And the difficulty for this is going to be 3, but you've already got, I know, 2 successes. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no advantage in multiple focuses, right?
So Rick, you only roll 1 die instead of 2 because you're assisting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got 3 if a crit is 2, because there's no advantage in multiple focuses, right?
No.
Okay, right. Well, three successes over here.
So 3. So that's okay. So then 4. So and
No help
Ross
from
got
Ross.
1 as well.
No,
None
no
for
help
Ross.
from Ross.
Okay, so you got 4 successes. So you're going to succeed at this. So basically, coordinating with the science station up on the bridge, you managed to link together the sensor system with communications. Using the communications array, you're able to look into subspace and try to detect if any more of these are popping along. Combined with the information that you all have with the USS Ross's trips through the Shackleton Expanse and your experiences running across these subspace bumps, you are able to accurately map what's in front of the Ross, and you detect something about 3 light years across near the Keldon class cruiser.
So looks like they might be in a spot of trouble.
3 light years across. It would take you a full day at Warp 7 to travel from end to end on what it is they're in front of. You're not sure what it is. Sensors are only detecting that there is an object or some kind of like an energy reading that the Keldon is currently seated next to. But you're also detecting a lot of activity in subspace near the mysterious object.
Does this seem like it is continuing to emit, or we're more like to continue the metaphor from before, in an existing debris field? Like, is this a volcano that is erupting, or has something blown up and now we're just going through it?
Spend a momentum, and I'll answer that question.
I feel like that's a worthwhile expenditure, don't you think?
Heck yeah.
Okay.
Whatever that thing is, it is emitting. It is emitting what would appear to be like scale-ripping subspace disruptions.
Even while we're doing this, I transmit all of this back to the starbase, if only for them to make the same sensor adjustments, to have a little more warning.
Okay.
Like this worked for us.
Curiously, what you're also detecting, though, is as you're getting closer to this thing, what you're detecting is it's not a single object. It looks like it's multiple objects that have been clustered together so much that it looks like it's a single thing. You're also detecting with the Ross. Remind me, Ross has high definition sensors, doesn't she? Okay, so with high definition sensors, you're actually able to monitor that a few of these items are blinking out of existence. They disappear. They're varying in size, whatever they are.
Coming in and out of existence in the sense emerging in and out of subspace,
well,
or
not
literally
in and out.
ceasing to exist. Right.
They're ceasing. They're just like you're seeing some of the signatures vanish. They're also varying in size.
Obviously, I just transmit all of this, and I just pointed out to the captain. Besides the obvious, there's a real chance those Cardassians are stuck over there. You see the scale of this thing and their proximity to it. They might not be able to get out of it, and if we're not careful, we won't either.
Currently working on that, and luckily this is not the first time we've had to remove a station or ship from within the grasps of one of these things.
Indeed, as you get closer, you enter medium range for the sensors.
What range do we have to be to tractor beam?
You need to be up close. You have to be like in the vicinity of. But as you all are all on approach, you're about 45 minutes out. when so you're approaching short range. You detect indeed your sensor skill. I'm not even gonna have you all roll because it's all pretty much in the system. This is indeed subspace ripping tears in subspace. It doesn't look like a single subspace tear. It looks like if the universe scraped its knee. It looks like thousands and thousands of tears that have been torn across subspace, opening up these gaps that stretch across 3 light years. Meaning that, and judging from the model that you've been able to build, and this is going to be the product of your success, Lieutenant Cohn, the model that you and Yugos were able to build, you can see the path of the shockwave, and you see the shockwave has basically shredded subspace in this area. You also notice, though, that some of these tears are repairing themselves, but there are a larger one. There are larger ones located around the vessel, but more than anything, you see a large one that's about 65,000 kilometers long near the Cardassian Keldon vessel.
Captain, we have
This is
a very
dangerous.
Yeah, I'm looking at the screens now. While we're this close, we have a wonderful opportunity. How is it sealing itself?
That is an excellent question. I can try and make some scans to see if we can gather some data and make a hypothesis.
Wonderful. Work on that and everything else you're doing. Excellent work. Lieutenant Donkus?
Aye.
What? Ambassador? What are we going to do about that illegal ship?
I think I'm going to have to make a few calls.
Okay.
If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go down to my slightly more air-conditioned office.
The Ross rumbles again, and I'm going to ask you guys to take a point off of the shields. 1 point down from the shields. So that'll drop you back down to 7. And Vryn looks over his shoulder at you, Exio, and says, Commander, we're going to have to come out of warp a little bit before we arrive. The closer we get to those subspace tears, it's going to become impossible to maintain a warp bubble.
Yeah, maintain pace, but not quite this, maintain trajectory and lower to, are we still at warp?
Yeah, you're at warp 7 right now.
Okay, go to warp 4. Let's stay cautious on this.
That's going to add a couple of hours to your arrival time, just so you know.
To the ship or to the tear?
To the Ross's arrival time.
Right. Arrival time to the ship or the tear?
Well, the ship is in the proximity of the tear is the problem.
Got it.
So to arrive at one is basically to arrive at the other.
That gives I'm okay with that. That gives everyone time to work on what they're working on without exacerbating the possible danger we're going into. We've got to figure out what their ship is. We've got to figure out, we got to give our scientists time to analyze at a safe distance. We have sensors for a reason. So I'm okay with a couple of hours. And if the ship moves, Bren...
When I say add hours to it, dropping from warp 7 to warp 4 will probably add about close to 20 hours.
20? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then drop to warp 6.
Yeah. Okay. So reducing speed, yeah, that's the difference, and that's being generous. Like it would probably technically have been more like a few days, but like basically dropping to warp 6 will add about 6 more hours to the arrival time.
There we go.
But at this point, that's going to give you all enough time to prepare for this. Also, because of Lieutenant Cohn's scans, you're going to have an opportunity right now to, if you would like, if you want to spend momentum, I can give you more information about the scene you're about to arrive at.
Yes.
Or if you want to conserve it, okay. So Cohn, what you end up relaying to the captain.
Checking if we're at 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Is anyone else keeping momentum track?
4?
It was 4.
Cool.
4.
I'm at 4 as well.
Okay. Arriving, so what you're detecting, first of all, is this Cardassian vessel the reason why it seems to be at minimal power is they've channeled all of their power into the warp core. And they are basically maintaining their position at full power. Like all of their engine power has been transferred to the ship's propulsion. It looks like they are running hot, and all they're doing is staying still. They're in place. At this distance, you're also scanning that for a ship of its complement, it doesn't have quite as many life signs as you might expect on a Kelvin class. It looks like the ship may have taken some damage,
but it does have some life signs.
Yeah, there's probably about 100 and 150 Cardassian life signs that fluctuate from time to time. All Cardassian on board that vessel.
Olin down in their office has sent an update to the Admiral as well as a message to Mr. Garrick.
Okay. You're going to send a subspace signal to Mr. Garrick?
About the ship, for sure.
Okay. It takes a hot minute for you to make a connection, but Garrick seems to always be willing to take your call. As you make the connection, you do notice that it is staticky. Like you see communications in this area, just communicating out of it. You just see static kind of play over the screen for a second when you see Garrick's face materialize. And for a second, it's much like our live stream. Occasionally, someone starts talking and they're muted, and you don't hear anything. For a moment, you don't hear anything. For a second, you see him reach down to the computer console, and he goes, "Can you hear me now, Ambassador?"
I can, indeed. It's nice to hear from you, Mr. Garrick.
And you? What can I do for you?
Well, I'm afraid the Ross has tripped over one of your strays.
One of our strays?
And they'll explain the situation.
His cheery demeanor changes to that sort of like aha look on Garrick's face. And he says, "Well, it sounds like you may have come across some of our wayward brethren."
Indeed. I figured you should know about it.
Exio is having an aha moment.
Yes!
Well, I'm not sure what I can do from out here, Ambassador. But
It's
if
not
I were
about you
I would
doing
be very
anything.
careful when associating with them. If these Cardassians are members of the True Way, it'll be very difficult to have a conversation.
Yes, I figured you should at least know what is happening. We will do our best to bring them to heel in the event that they are, as you suppose, members of the True Way.
Keep me apprised if you could.
I will indeed.
And I've heard rumors. Did
Rumors?
Captain Sull steal a starship?
You know, I can neither confirm nor deny such rumors.
I've never been more proud. Garrick out.
And then Olin will head back up to the bridge and brief the commander. And when they see the realization pass over the
lip
commander's
twitch,
face
yeah.
of, oh shit, I didn't even think about the True Way. It's just sort of like, well, now you're thinking about it.
Follow me. You too, Lieutenant Donkus.
Yes, Captain.
All right, we can do a scene jump here.
Okay.
The Ross has to come out of warp fairly early and spend a good 3 hours traveling at full impulse before you arrive towards the scene. When you start coming into range, the engine, first of all, the warp core starts becoming taxed, and you all start feeling the vibrations coming through the hull. As you see Vryn shake his head, and he goes, "Captain, that's a subspace terror. Our warp core is going to act like a magnet. If we get too close to that thing, we will be pulled in and destroyed."
I trust you to know when to stop, Vryn.
He nods.
Okay.
On screen, you can see the Keldon class, which is at stations keeping. It doesn't look like they're moving, but according to the sensors, Lieutenant Cohn, they have been running their engines at full power to stay in place. In other words, it's like they're stuck in a current and they're running as fast as they can in the opposite direction to stay where they are, which is quite the feat because subspace tears typically become more powerful the harder you try to get away. Go ahead and make a reason science check.
While you're doing that, Exio is just like staring at the screen and trying to figure out what the next move is.
So let me describe what you see.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing something that no Starfleet officer has ever seen before. You're seeing, first of all, you're seeing a 65,000 kilometer subspace tear surrounded by millions of micro tears that are all miraculously repairing themselves. Yeah. They're closing up, which there is no explanation currently from what you're seeing for why that would happen.
No, but I want all that data because if we can close them, that would be amazing.
Yeah. What'd you roll, Cone?
If my astrophysics counts here, then 3 successes.
It's not going to count on this one, unfortunately.
All right, then 2.
Subspace anomaly, yeah.
No help
2 successes?
from the Ross.
Okay, that's enough. What was that from the Ross?
No help from the Ross.
There is an extraordinary amount of polaronic energy in the area. It might be offsetting how these anomalies typically behave. Theoretically, if you're getting close enough to one of these subspace tears, if you try to fly like a bat out of hell to get away from it, that strengthens the pull. It's like quicksand. So the harder you try to run away, the faster you get pulled in. The fact that they are at station keeping, even though they're currently running their engines hot, might have something to do with the interaction between the polaronic energy. However, as you are coming to this conclusion, Donkus detects that their weapon systems come online as y'all are approaching.
Cardassian weapons are online, Captain.
Donkus, go ahead and make a roll for me. This is going to be a control security check.
Okay.
And the difficulty, and the Ross will help on this one. This is going to be a sensor security check for the Ross, and the difficulty is 1.
Hey. We have 1 success.
Okay.
From Donkus.
Successes from the Ross.
All right, that's all enough. Your tactical display tells you that the amount of power that they put into their phasers might tickle.
Was that?
They have put so much power to keeping themselves in place that they barely have enough to raise their shields, and any shot that they send towards the Ross's way isn't going to be enough to do anything. They are hostile as you approach.
Well, I was about to ask about rescue protocol in a scenario like this, but it seems like it's a different case.
It's posturing. Kardashians are very good at that.
Yes, but I think we could possibly rule out a subspace creature accidentally tearing Olin.
Yeah, it was a nice little shot in the dark.
It really was while it lasted. Well,
but it doesn't explain how the tears are repairing themselves.
No, but that is what the scientists' jobs are for, and ours are arresting this vessel.
That I could help with.
Excellent. Well, as the captain would say, we normally just suck them in the tractor beam. But seeing as we don't exactly know how everything's going to interact with a thing this large, throw some ideas at me, folks.
Yeah, so let me paint the picture for you before you start throwing some ideas.
Yeah.
So to get in close to help these people, you are going to be subjected to the same bullshit that they are in right now.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you come within range to use a tractor beam, it's going to be a problem. Because the Ross will at that point now also be in wake of this subspace rip.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Really quickly then, before we start doing ideas, I'm going to send a posture back and send a message To the acting captain aboard your ship, don't be foolish. Your weapons are useless. Keep them on your power to stay alive, you fools.
I would say make a presence command check.
Okay.
Yeah, make a presence command check.
I have an idea.
By the way, Olin, just as like an aside, you definitely sense the presence of Cardassians on board that vessel. You sense hostility. You sense a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna buy a die.
Do it.
Okay, spend momentum, buy a die.
Let's do it.
And I'm gonna use my command focus on this.
Okay.
What's the difficulty?
This is a contested roll, so the difficulty defaults at 1, and you're rolling against the captain of that vessel.
Right. They're Cardassians. They're very strong-willed.
Yeah, imagine all the times that you've seen people try to intimidate Lacat.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't work out very well.
Right, but I'm not trying to intimidate them. I'm trying to appeal to their nature to want to live. They're not
Exactly.
Klingon.
They're stuck in quicksand right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and make the roll.
Can I buy another die? Or is it only 2? Only one.
No, you can buy a die, but it scales up in how much it costs.
Right, it's 2.
It becomes if you're gonna buy a second one, you'd be spending 3 momentum total.
I'm spending
I think
threat
we have
by the
it.
way, right now. I spent 2 points of threat.
2 points?
Yep.
I'm gonna take it, y'all.
All right, do it. Do your thing.
Which gets me 1 more die.
And I think that's us at 1 momentum now, right?
I believe we have. I might have missed one. I'll take your word for it.
We were at 4 before this expenditure.
Yeah.
Then we are out.
Yeah.
Oh, then we're out?
Because I bought 2 die, which would have cost 3.
Yeah, but we had 4.
Oh, right. Yes, you're right.
You have 1 left, yeah.
I believe in you.
Thank you.
What'd you
Shit.
get?
Not my favorite amount. Okay, I got 119. I got 2 successes. That's it.
Okay. A few beats pass.
Could be worse.
Failing is the worst.
A few beats pass, and you are receiving a hail, Donkus, from the shuttle, from the vessel.
Oh.
On screen.
Appearing on screen, you see a Cardassian woman sitting in the center chair. She is wearing the traditional armor of the Cardassian Union's military. She looks haggard. She looks angry, judging from your protocol being able to read facial features. She looks very angry, but she also looks desperate. You can sense that on her immediately, Olin, when you see her appear. She says, "This is Gul Canis of the Rovat. We are in distress."
Okay.
You're
Oh,
muted.
Muted.
Is this a full connection or a message? Is this a fake-
It's face to face,
Full,
but
okay.
it's static is playing across the screen and everything.
Okay. We would like to assist in removing you from the imminent danger. Turn your weapon system off. Line.
You can see the jaw clench even through the shattered resolution of the view screen. And then she turns and looks down and nods. Then you hear someone behind her say something. The universal translator kind of fritzes a little bit, but you basically get somebody screaming, "No, you can't do this." And she says, "Stand down." Something is happening behind her. But you
Yeah.
see her rise up out of her chair. You hear a struggle. You see a phaser go off on the bridge. You see an energy beam just go right across the screen, and this transmission cuts out.
What did I get in that moment?
Like a surge of fear, rage, and then right now you're still feeling that on the other side of the vessel. From her, you still sense that desperation.
Okay.
Well, what we've learned from that is that some aboard that crew want to live and others are currently staging a mutiny, is what I'd imagine. Let's hope that the next time we get a hail, it's from from Lieutenant Gull, or Captain Gull, you said?
Gull Canis.
So Gull is actually
Canis?
Yeah, Gull is the Cardassians' name for captain. They call their captains gulls. Yeah.
Okay. Gull Canis.
Gull.
Like
So
Gul
her name is
Dukat.
Canis.
Canis. Okay,
Gul
let's
Dukat,
hope that the next time we receive a hail, it is from Gull Canis.
It's quiet. Eerily quiet. So much so that Vren looks over at you, Lieutenant Cohn, and just is like,
Well, no point in dilly-dallying. Whether or not they are in communication with us, our mission is still the same. We need to remove them from that spot, while also assuming that they are the ones that opened it. You said you had an idea, Ambassador Olin. Ambassador Majanil, forgive me.
It's all right. It's a lake. The subspace tear is a lake. And that shit is a big old rock, trying very hard not to fall into it. Have you ever skipped stones? We need something smaller to go in and get those people out of the ship. They're less likely to drag against the subspace force, correct?
With our understanding of how these work, I believe so. But one small ship is not going to rescue 100 Cardassian.
So we don't just send one.
Vren swivels in the chair and looks at you and says, Captain, if we had a security team and I had the help of Howitzer, I could lead a team of shuttlecrafts over there. We might be able to do a little trick that I learned in the academy, gravitational drifting. It's not
easy.
easy.
The skipping stones again.
Something like that. It would take us about an hour to prep Shuttle Bay, though, so they're going to have to maintain for another hour if we were to pull that off. But we would definitely need a security team because it definitely doesn't look like all of the Cardassians are going to want to come.
No, I don't imagine that they're going to open the door and freely and willingly jump onto a Federation ship.
I only suggest it because we can't go in there, and I'm fairly certain that transporters aren't going to work in this mess.
No.
Not at this
I
range,
believe
anyway.
you have actually pinpointed the only thing that we can do at the moment.
Vren pipes up and says, if we can get close enough, and if I had Howitzer's help, we might be able to use the transporters if we're close. But...
Okay. Is there a way we can test this theory before I sacrifice any bodies to it? Do we have any sort of dummy vessels that we can send that aren't functioning, but sort of test our theory with sort of a piece of debris?
Are you referring to a dump shuttle, by any chance?
Do we have one aboard?
No.
As far as I know, we do not. This is not a ship that adopts dump shuttles.
No. How many current shuttles do we have? Because I know we're down at least one.
We could try a probe.
You're down. You're not down a shuttle. You were down a Danube class runabout. So. And that is to be returned to the Ross, by the way.
Yeah.
But that was when the beloved ambassador. Or no. I'm sorry. You deliberately gave that ambassador a tiny shuttle.
I think we stuck him in a probe and shot him into space.
I think y'all. I'm just now remembering that y'all wanted to give him a Type 18 shuttle pod.
We did.
So he has a.
He's basically going home in a coffin.
Yeah, you guys have a full complement of the shuttlecrafts right now. In fact, Vren is recommending finally taking out the Argo class transport that y'all have on board.
Okay.
Which is the big girl.
Okay. Vren,
Aye, Captain.
before anyone on that ship starts getting any ideas, let's get there first.
Let's do it. He stands up and rubs his hands.
Lieutenant Cohn,
Captain.
if you yourself or you would like to send an apprentice along, I think getting close-up scans within the shuttle might be able to give you a closer look, unless you advise a different plan.
No, I think this is something that I should handle personally. I think if the cat was here, she would handle this personally, and I should do the same.
Okay. Then you will go with Vren. Lieutenant Donkus?
Captain.
Start getting a team. I imagine this is going to be a quite hostile rescue mission.
I'll get the gruffest security that we have to offer.
Request permission to bring along our engineer too, Captain.
Who says that to me?
Oh, that's Vren.
Oh, of course. Lieutenant,
Howitzer.
where are you? Is he on the bridge or he's still in...
Howitzer's in main engineering.
I've been in engineering, yep.
Yes, Lieutenant Howitzer.
Yes, Captain.
It seems we're going to be doing some away missions, just a little bit closer, and your presence has been requested.
I will meet you in the shuttle bay. This should be one for the record books, huh?
It shall indeed, but aren't they always? Captain out.
And I head to the shuttle bay.
Oh.
All right.
And for a tiny moment, Exio freezes because that's the first time I think she said Captain out and not Commander. So just a small, brief moment, and then moves on.
Huh. Assembling the teams in Shuttle Bay 1. Again, Shuttle Bay 1 is the largest open space on board the ship. It is cavernous. As y'all are new, I've frequently described it as about half the size of the San Diego Convention Center. It is quite large. This is the main shuttle bay to the saucer section of the USS Ross. It is, yes, Jody, massive. It's enough. You see where a bunch of the shuttlecraft are being removed from some of their docks. You see the Argo-class shuttle being brought online, as well as the Danube-class runabout, which you guys have. Because the Ross is such a large ship with expansive, I believe the trait we actually took was expansive shuttle bay, allows you all to have access to more shuttles than a typical capital ship of this size has. Man, that's finally coming in handy. After a year of playing this game, you guys are basically equipping your class Type 8, your Type 11, your runabout, and your transport. All coming online, and it is quite the undertaking. Because a lot of these shuttles, in order to make room in the shuttle bay, have to be stored. Some of them have to be assembled and are put together on the pad itself. There's a few Type 8 shuttles that are brought in, and engineering teams are brought out as the nacelles are attached, and they're all starting to put everything together. Vren is overseeing a lot of this with Chief Singh as this is all happening, but Shuttle Bay 1 becomes the busiest place on board the ship.
Is Singh going with them, or would Singh be more beneficial on this ship?
That's your call. He is a transporter chief operational officer, so if they're going to be beaming them off in a very dicey situation, Singh might be the perfect person to send along with Howitzer.
Sure. Yeah, my understanding was just wondering if their proximity helps Singh, or if Singh being there is more beneficial to Singh because, because he has the...
Yeah.
In higher roles, he will have the ship's help.
Right.
On the ship. So I'm actually going to tell Singh to send their number 2 so that Singh can have better control on the ship.
Okay.
For the beam, because the beam on that side is going to be shaky. So having a stronger beam on this side is always going to help.
Okay. Captain, could I pose a question?
Yes, of course.
It is just a question. I am aware that we have yet to separate the saucer section on this vessel. I worry that getting 4 to 5 ships back safely might be much more difficult than getting back one with a larger warp core. And we could keep all the civilians safe on the other part of the ship.
There's something I just thought about too, Captain. I thought I should bring it up, and Lieutenant Howitzer, you can back me up on this if I'm wrong, but the Ross might be more dangerous than we thought. I was doing some calculations while we were doing prep on the shuttle bay, and it occurred to me, subspace tears, they're attracted to warp cores.
Yes.
We got 2.
Yes.
So the Ross is going to be a honking big magnet if we get too close.
Which is why we are stopping.
What I mean to say is in case anything unforeseen happens, it might be a good idea to back the Ross off a little bit.
Okay. And the reason, and this, if we separated the saucer section, we would still have a warp core on board, correct?
It wouldn't be as, if we separated the saucer section, because the warp core generates less power, and because we wouldn't have 2, it would theoretically make it easier, yes, to handle the evacuation. These subspace tears have a tendency of turning warp cores into giant magnets, as I said before.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Okay. Well, it looks like you're going to get your wish today after all.
Oh.
That was an excellent
shit.
suggestion, Lieutenant Howitzer. Or Chief? What? Yes, Lieutenant.
You know, you're the captain. You can refer to me by whatever designation you prefer.
That is very kind of you. I'm not normally one so terrible with words.
It is an unusual set of circumstances.
Thank you for your understanding.
So Vryn is going to report back to the helm because
yes, we're going to the plan is, hello crew, hello bridge. The plan is we are going to evacuate all of the civilian population aboard this ship into the saucer section, or not the saucer section, into the main area. That part is going to back up while the saucer section of the ship stays in place for aid.
Okay, so while that is decided, while shuttle bay, so for the first time since the Ross has left space dock, the entire ship is a flurry of activity as people are transferring from saucer section to the main section of the ship. Meanwhile, in Shuttle Bay 1, which is on the saucer section, the entire staff is assembling shuttlecraft and getting ready for this rescue mission on the edge of a giant subspace tear. I'm going to have to roll for saucer separation. Y'all are going to have to give me a minute because I've actually never had to look this up in the core book before. But
you have no idea how excited I am.
You're welcome. We did this for you, Audrey.
Yeah. I feel like this happened when you were on Shielded Tomorrow. Didn't something happen where you were like, "You're welcome, Internet"?
Yeah. I don't remember what it was, but something they wanted.
That's usually every game.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dave. I love you. Thank you.
I'm the comet that enters the orbit before something crazy happens. Yeah.
It's a very exciting first episode to be on, I have to say. Some crazy stuff is happening.
I don't think that we have ever separated the saucer from the main cabin on this show for this ship. And I was like, there's no way we can not do this. We have an opportunity. We must take it.
So here's the funny part. So the ship is designed, each section has the same systems, talents, weapons, but their scale is 1 lower than the whole ship. That's fine. Each section only has half the power, not the Ross. Ross does not have half the power. You have full power still in the saucer section. Further, if the ship has suffered any damage ongoing, the saucer section, which contains crew quarters, it does not have the capacity to go to warp. Not the Ross. Separating the saucer is control plus con task at difficulty 3. It is assisted by the structure plus engineering performed from the internal systems. Okay. But the crew has both parts. If the task fails, the reconnection fails. Oh, that we don't have to worry about that yet. All right. So let me pull up Vryn's character sheet as we make this roll. So the Ross is going to be rolling structure plus engineering. The crew, the Aux crew, all starts immediately moving into their assigned positions. As officers move up into the saucer section, civilians and family move back down into the main body. The whole thing, the whole operation, drills have been run for this before, but the crew of the Ross reacts quickly. An Aux crew is ready and in position in about 15 minutes. And that being said, we're going to make the roll now. Now, again, because the Ross has 2 warp cores, I am not dividing the power between or actually I should reduce it some because one of the reasons why those are because you have expansive plasma conduits. Never mind. Power is going to stay the same. I'm going to say that this is going to cost 1 power though to do. So Vren has got to make a control con task. Oh my god, that's what he's born to do. Difficulty is 3. Do we have any momentum? Can Vren spend a momentum for this?
Yeah, we have 1. Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to buy a die. All right. Ross, roll structure plus engineering. And let's see how this goes. Okay.
No success from Ross.
1?
Ross has been unsuccessful.
Okay, so I rolled 3 successes, thankfully. And it's good that I bought that extra die, because that's no crits. All right, so for the first time in Ross's lifespan since she left Space Dock, you all hear, as you're sitting in the saucer section, Ox Crew command staff and takes their position. Beta Shift is brought in immediately to take position on the battle bridge, as it is sometimes called. So that would be, let's see, Lieutenant Warkin Zisk, Fawn Roselle, Lieutenant Junior Grade Talon, Lieutenant Dr. Kari Saruna, Lieutenant Avik Taru-san, Lieutenant Junior Grade Moshlao Karv, and then Lieutenant Ro Gers for Beta Shift, all showing up and manning the stations on the bridge of the main ship. There is a loud echoing noise that reverberates throughout the hull as all of the docking clamps unlatch and the Ross begins to and separates from the main body of the ship for the first time. You see the saucer section on the reverse view screen, Exio. You watch as the ship splits and the main body begins to pull and turn away. And
I have one quick question as this is happening.
Yeah.
That, of course, I definitely thought of beforehand. My main computer core, is it in the saucer section of the ship, or is it in the
main computer core is located in the main body of the vessel. So
ring goes on before that.
Turn on the ring because you're technically on an away mission now.
I'm on an away mission now.
You are technically. Let me just double check that, but I am almost certain the main computer core is in the.
I thought it should be.
Good catch.
Otherwise, I just would have blipped out of existence.
Put a ring on it.
Just got sucked back to the other side.
And suddenly Bren's in charge again. Oh no, God help us all.
Any meta storage. Oh, let me check. Let me just double check real quick.
I do like to imagine that, like, Lieutenant Cone is like, doing to himself, and behind the tactical station, Lieutenant Donkus is just doing a little Tellarite shimmy. Very nice.
Yep, it's in the main body. It's the main body of the ship. So your ring goes on.
That's why I have a ring.
Yep, you slide the ring on, and the ship separates. The ring activates, and you are all free floating, moving in closer. It's quite the sight from Shuttle Bay 1 as the Shuttle Bay doors are open and just the force fields right now. So you're looking out into space. You can actually see, standing on the edge, if you can imagine just the concept art of somebody just like near the main Shuttle Bay doors looking out into space as the body of the Ross begins to leave, as it pulls away. And then begins to angle forward as the saucer section moves closer and closer. As you guys move closer, you do feel sort of the rumbling sensation of the subspace eddies that are around here. And it kind of, and at that point, the shuttle operation begins. And also, you get hailed, Ross, as the shuttles start to leave the bays of Shuttle Bay 1.
Okay. Finishing up my call with Lieutenant Donkus, who I imagine is the commanding officer aboard this particular away mission. So, Lieutenant Donkus, just the ending of the thing. Good luck and keep me updated. Oh,
will do, Captain.
And Captain out. And On screen?
Coming up on screen, you see Gull Canis again.
Okay.
And she says, Captain, I surrender to you, but not all of my crew will be willing to do so. They will fight to the death. I won't condemn all of us who are not willing to die for this cause.
I'm glad to hear it. We have shuttles on their way to rescue whichever members of your crew would like to be rescued.
That would just be the command staff, I'm afraid.
Understood. Are you and your are you and the staff that wish to retreat in a safe location, or do you need to be evacuated?
We've managed to barricade ourselves on the bridge, but the crew is gaining access to the warp core as we speak.
That they may not listen to you, but please inform them that activating your warp core will only further put you in harm's way. It becomes a magnet.
Their intention, Captain.
I
They
understand.
understand that I have offered a surrender.
My team is hurrying as quick as they can. We'll be there.
We are in your hands. And the communication unwillingly cuts off as power on her bridge fluctuates.
We should probably warn the guards downstairs to start warming up the brig cells.
Let's hope we can beam them straight in. But if not,
All right.
send all the due diligence. And then I pass back Patience. And
I know, yeah.
thank
I
you.
just like Patience. Patience has just been sitting in the middle between the two of us, I think, and we're just both alternatingly like scritching her ears.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a couple of rolls, and I'm going to need a roll from Donk, Cone, and Howitzer.
Oh, I.
Because the way this is going to work is Howitzer is going to keep all the shuttles from falling into a big black hole. Cone, you are basically going to help Bryn navigate those subspace eddies as they're trying to beam people over. And
Who's Eddie?
oh, Eddie,
Sorry.
sorry.
No, sorry.
I think that he is referring to one Mr. Doty.
Yeah. Did I say Eddie?
Yeah,
The
so funny.
Eddies.
the Eddies.
Yeah.
Oh, the eddies. Gotcha. I was like, wait, what? I couldn't have made that mistake.
In space, are they not doties?
Hashtag we're all Eddie Doty. So Howitzer and then Donkus, it's safe to say that it probably at least one or two of these people that are going to be on board are going to try to take a piece of you.
I assumed as much.
So with 7 shuttles that you all have traveling over there, you're looking at rescuing probably about 15 to 16 people. Your security team's located on the other shuttlecraft. I'm going to have you roll basically to find out how they hold up and how you hold up.
Got
So
it.
let's go ahead and start with Lieutenant Cone, who is seated next to Vryn as he is steering this Argo-class shuttle closer and closer. And they're like rumbling sensations. In your rear sensors, by the way, you see the Ross, the saucer section, has actually moved closer to all of you, which significantly increases your chances of surviving this, considering you will have less of a traverse to get back to the ship.
Very good.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
go
get
ahead and
nervous
make
in
your
the field.
roll. Vryn looks at you and is oddly calm. He just says, "You got this. This is good. This is good. You're gonna have some stories to tell. This is good."
Well, a long time ago, I was exposed to an orb of prophecy, and I saw myself in a Starfleet uniform having a mission that didn't really go very well. And every time I go into the field, I kind of worry that maybe this is that mission, and it probably
Stop talking. Stop. And Vryn turns back to the helm.
One success.
One success. Okay. One success from you. So now, Lieutenant Howitzer, of all the people right now, you're the one with the biggest task. You're literally trying to counterbalance the physics of the subspace tear and the effects that it's having. However, it does appear that some of the theories may have been correct. That the polaronic energy involved in this is having a self-defeating, draining effect on the tear itself. Might be why they're closing up on their own. Hard to say, but it's not going to be. It's the only reason why the Ross's saucer section is not being pulled in immediately. So I'm going to have you make a control engineering check on this.
2 successes.
Do you have any
Focuses.
do you have any like focuses that would come into play here?
I do, but I rolled a 13 and a 14, and my number was 15.
Oh, you know what though? Okay, cool. Yeah, that works then. So how many did you get?
2.
2.
Yeah.
Okay, so right now you guys only have 3 successes.
I'd like to remind everyone that you have value.
You can
Yes,
earn
so-
values.
So
Yeah,
just so y'all know,
Yeah.
Oh,
so, because they don't know about them. So the way values work is you can tell me at any point, I want to call upon a value. And what I would say is, okay, how does that a value apply to this situation? And you might say, how about this one? And if it
I got
does,
one.
if it does, you gain an automatic critical hit.
Oh, but that would make my 2 successes 4 then, or it would
Yeah,
override.
that would make your 2
Okay.
successes 4.
I got a value I'd like to cash in.
Yeah.
The challenge makes it worth doing.
Yes.
We're going on a quasi-suicide mission to rescue Cardassian radicals that, in the midst of a impossible subspace anomaly that shouldn't even be, with a captain who's not captain on half a ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, when you put it that way.
Yeah, okay, why not? Of course we're gonna do it. Yeah, if nothing else, we're gonna make history and save some people.
Okay. On that note, because I'm now just bringing this up, Rick, if you would like to burn a value too, you also have the opportunity if you want to add to the successes, because we didn't bring that up for you. Do you have a
My
value
2
that
will-
might apply here?
My 2 will be 4 then.
Well, I have arguably one of 2.
Okay.
I have a value a job worth doing is worth doing well, but I also have a value I have faith in 2 things: the Prophets and the Federation. So
Yeah, I would say that second one, considering your conversation with Bren. Okay,
Yeah.
so then that'll give you 4, 5, 6, 7 successes now, correct? Because that would give you 4.
1 plus 4.
You rolled
Yeah,
5,
that's 7
and
total.
then you've got 2 more, so 7. All right, so then we're gonna come. Okay, so you're almost there. Okay, Donkus.
I feel far less anxious than I did a second ago when it was only 3 successes. Thank you all.
Yeah. No, I was getting a little worried there. So Donkus, I'm gonna have you roll daring and security for this.
Daring and security. All right.
Yeah.
Am I on the same shuttle as the other 2, or is this my own shuttle going here?
You're
right
on
now?
the same shuttle as the other 2, and you're also going to get assists from your security teams.
Got
I
it.
want to see how many successes you all accumulate, basically, to find out how the operation goes.
And that was daring and
Daring and security.
Okay, got it.
And your security teams did very well.
That's good to know.
And you can call upon a value if you'd like to.
Looking at the values, I feel like we're going to have to go with the one that's just the most fun to say. I'm the right tool for the job. If ever there was a time for me to be, I've been thrust into a position of authority that I was not ready for today, let me tell you. So, but I'm confident in myself and my abilities, so I'm the right tool for the job.
Okay.
That is 2 successes on top of the values. So is
Okay.
that 4 successes?
Yes, and what's unique about your role is what I didn't tell you is your role is hand-to-hand combat.
Oh,
So here's how this works. In Star Trek Adventures, when you have a fight, everyone rolls simultaneously and the fight happens simultaneously. If you attack somebody and they roll more successes, then they hit you, not the other way around. It's not a hit exchange like D&D where you go for the AC, then you wait for their turn and they go for your AC. And this one, y'all lock arms and the music. So basically, this is how it all goes down. First of all, with as many, y'all needed a threshold of 10 successes for this to go smoothly. And you nailed it.
cracked 11.
So this is how it goes down. With Cone's help, you were all able to monitor and to see the subspace eddies as they are flowing throughout the area. And Vryn is able to use his expertise to guide the shuttles around the sides of this Keldon-class cruiser. As y'all get into range, the shields in the cruiser go down, and beaming starts to happen on board. As that is taking place, Chief Singh on the Ross is currently coordinating with the people on the shuttlecraft to make sure that the beaming that is taking place is being done so efficiently and safely. Yeah. But more importantly, behind all of you is Lieutenant Howitzer, who's keeping that positive attitude going and also making sure that you guys aren't expending too much energy at once to get dragged into a 65,000 kilometer long subspace eddy and torn to shreds. While this is all being balanced on behind, Cardassians start beaming aboard the shuttle. And on the third beam out, as people are being led aboard the shuttle, first of all, you get the Gull and her command staff first. And as multiple beams are happening on the other shuttles, on the main shuttle, the Argo, where you were all located, one of these guys, as he's posing as somebody who's helping, pulls a phaser and tries to shoot the Gull in the back. But a Tellarite jumps him before that happens. And because you beat him by 3, I'm going to let you describe how you beat the unholy hell out of him.
I
pulls this phaser and aims it at the Gull's back as she's nodding her thanks to all of you, holding one of her crewmates. She notices the guy behind her isn't somebody that was with her on the command staff. Her facial expression changes. She's about to say something, and then everything happens all at once. What do you do, Donkus?
I don't know how talents work, but I'm going to just use a talent here that I think works for it and put it into the storytelling of it. As I see the phaser, instinct immediately kicks in, and I grab the hand with the phaser, load up my right hand, and with a single punch, knock the ever-loving crap out of this would-be assassin's face, and I'm left holding their full body weight just by the
Tellarite just hanging this like Cardassian hanging.
Yeah, just in hand there.
Like, the strength of the Tellarite is you just kind of hold this full body like Cardassian just slumped as you're holding their hand.
Mm-hmm. Phaser out. Drop on ground. Someone put this thing in cuffs.
Okay. You breached the 10 threshold, which is a kind of like my quick version of doing the extended task.
Mm-hmm.
The USS Ross manages to rescue these Cardassians from the vessel. One by one, you've managed to beam them out. You managed to get away from this Keldon-class cruiser. And as you were pulling away from it, you begin to see the power fluctuating on board, but it stays in place. On board the Ross...
I have a question. Do we get all of the Cardassians off, or just the ones that wanted to be rescued?
About 16.
Okay.
16 of the 240 that are still on board.
So we weren't able to arrest any of and beam them off into the brig? Because they're all going into the brig.
No, you would have to get as close as the shuttles to the ship to do that, and when you do that, you immediately become siphoned into the subspace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just
so
wanted
it was
to
literally,
check.
and the captain that was kind of the captain easing your conscience and letting you know that everyone on board is going to blow up the ship rather than be captured.
Mm-hmm.
Because the true way, like
we would still technically have to put the people we rescued in the brig as well. They are criminals.
Yeah.
And in fact, Exio, you actually see, as the shuttles are returning, you actually see the Keldon power up its phasers and target one of the shuttlecraft. The shot never goes off, though. Maybe because they can't lock on, maybe because there's not enough power to the weapons. But eventually, one by one, the Ross is able to recover its shuttlecraft. The whole operation takes about 20 minutes. And the tearing, the rumbling that is happening on the Ross is enough to subtract 2 more points of power. And 2 more points of your shields also vanish. The Ross is experiencing the drain of polaronic energies right now. What's up, Rick? You look like you wanted to say something.
Well, I was going to say, while I'm out in the shuttlecraft and I'm closer to the tears, can I try and get more accurate readings that might help us figure out why they're sealing themselves?
Why they're what?
Why they're repairing themselves? The ones that are repairing themselves?
Yes, you can grab some of that. Actually, let's find out. Let's make a reason science check. And I'll roll for the shuttle because I have the stats right here. Make a reason science check. Tell me what you get. Shuttle did
One
well.
success.
2 successes then. It's a lot of data. You're not going to be able to look at it right away, but you do get a good scan on one of these small tears just as it's sealing up. So, one by one, these Cardassians are brought back on board the ship, and about the time that they're being escorted to the brig is when you receive notification that the warp core is destabilizing on board the Keldon class cruiser. About 20 minutes. Oh, wait, real quick. I'm just going to go ahead and roll for Vren as he initiates docking procedure as you guys pull back. I'm guessing
we need to pull back quick. Not quick, because that makes us closer to it, but we don't know what's going to happen when that thing is it going to explode? This could be bad.
Vren rolls a 1 and an 8, so he definitely redocks the ship.
And
Well,
if it helps, the Ross also rolled a success on.
Okay, then that's going to generate 3 momentum.
That's 3 we didn't have.
Great.
So we'll cut to the scene of you all returning to the bridge. It's been about 30 minutes for the whole operation, and as the Ross is beginning to pull away, you're all seeing on the main view screen the desperation of the Keldon class vessels. They try to eject their warp core. And it doesn't work. They don't have the power to the systems to eject the warp core. And slowly, the Keldon starts getting drawn into the subspace tear. There's absolutely no saving it. And eventually, it just vanishes from sight. The sheer size of the tear, it becomes even more apparent when you have scale. It's so large, you're not going to see an explosion. But the ship becomes lost pretty quickly. Prisoners are escorted down. Some of the senior officers manage to reassume their roles. Donkus, as you're on board the bridge, the doors open and Yuri Prawl comes walking in. He walks up to you and goes, "You're relieved?" You're muted, Joey. You're muted.
About time. I need to go put some ice on this fist anyway.
Hey, Prawl puts his hand on your shoulder and stops you for a moment, looks at you and says, "I hear you got to clock a true-way Cardassian."
Went down like a sack of potatoes.
Nicely done. I'm a little jealous. Pats you on the shoulder. Go take some time off.
He's got a skip and a step as he walks off through the doors.
Down in main engineering, it's the same thing. About that point, Insandari resumes her duties. She approaches main engineering as you are all backing away from the subspace tear. She's looking at your report, and she just goes,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Hey, listen."
But if I might be so bold to say, I believe what we did today is why the Federation exists.
Listen, I don't know where the hell you came from, but it's a damn crime that someone like you has just been hanging back in the ranks. So when Chief Tech comes back, assuming he still has his job, you want to join the senior engineering staff?
It would be an honor.
All right. But you're not getting my job. I don't care if you're a lieutenant.
No, not at all. I'll just be here the next time you get a little bump on the head.
Right.
With permission, I'd like to go sleep for 20 to 30 standard hours.
Yeah, go do that. I'll take over here. You're relieved. And what has been the most active day of your Starfleet career? You step on board you step onto the turbo lift and look around the engineering room. You restored the USS Ross to power. You helped keep those shuttle crews alive. As the door closes, you head off to your quarters.
Like I said, treat her like a lady. She'll get you home.
But our last scene is actually going to fall to Lieutenant Cohn, who, even though he's been relieved and is in 10 forward right now, because you got a nice juicy scan right before you went back, even though you weren't under orders to do that, but you were too curious. And as you're looking at the data pad of the data that has come back from the scan, you see the Ross outside the windows of 10 forward. The Ross has jumped to warp, probably headed back to the starbase.
Yeah, and also no longer at red alert.
Right. No, yeah, we're conditioning green. Yeah, no longer red alert. So, Jake, if you could put us back to regular status. And then, so as you're sitting there in 10 forward, looking at the data pad, Lieutenant Cohn, you squint, hardly believing what you're seeing. You've been on the Ross for a while now, so you know a little bit about what's been happening. If the Ross didn't have high-definition sensors, there's no way this would have been picked up. But as you look closely at the data and look, you see, literally on the other side of the boundaries of subspace, what looks like, according to the scans, a life form that is knitting up the other side. It kind of glides over one of these rips, and as it does, the tear just goes. Nothing like this has ever been recorded.
Captain.
Go for Exio.
We have to talk.
We are.
There's something on the other side of the tears. There's I mean, I can't. I'm not actually sure I believe this. I could be wrong. You should run this all by Lacat when they. But
you're just hearing this come through the communicator, Exio. Mm-hmm. People on the bridge are turning and looking over at you.
I think there's something alive out there.
Turn. Smile very wide at the Ambassador Majanil and just say, "You seem to be getting your way all day today. Seems we might have a little carpet bug again."
That's our button.
First of all, big round of applause to our very awesome guests. Yay!
Yeah.
You guys are so great.
That was far too fun.
It does make sense the Bajoran that worships subspace gods would be the find the space bearing entity, though. You know, it's like Pirates.
Yeah. Oh man! Oh no! God, no Pirates, please.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you guys so much. I've never had to just slam 3 guests into a plot like this, and y'all did great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We even got to see a Tellarite beat the crap out of a Cardassian.
That was pretty cool.
Y'all catch us next Monday as the crew reunites. Crew of the USS Ross, having been separated, is reuniting for what will be a memorable dressing down, perhaps. It's hard to say. But as the data all comes back, it'll be put together, and we will have a reunion. So we will see you next Monday night. Until then, hailing frequencies are closed.